Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination thrive. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
Happy Wednesday. Yeah, I know it said Tuesday night something, but technically I made the show on Tuesday, so whether that counts. But it really doesn't matter because all the days seem to meld into one another, and it's all just one long Monday, if you ask me. Welcome to the Midnight Express. This is just an open topic. Nothing really went on today. A lot of the stuff that goes on through our pop culture universe was some of the same shit that we've been talking about for like days and days and weeks right now, and I'm kind of just tired of talking. I don't feel like talking about. We already stopped. We already put the lid on Superman. We already actually held a special show to put the lid on Superman. Don't want to talk about Superman anymore. Don't want to talk. Well, I've already talked a lot about Fantastic Four, but it, like I said, the only thing you're going to get out of me when it comes to Fantastic Four is just how much I love that movie. Not as much as Thunderbolts, though. We were never talking about Thunderbolts, even though that's the best comic book movie of the year. But as far as box office and stuff like that, until Marvel or DC or Warner Brothers Venmo me money, I don't feel like talking about that anymore either. Because once again, some of you guys are getting behind box office numbers for the wrong reasons. And when you're doing that, your points in the conversation is like it's kind of tainted. It's like we're not looking for legitimate, analytics or anything. We're just looking for, exaggerations and stuff. And to be honest with you, that conversation lasts like 2 seconds. It's been quite a while, in my opinion, since the best movie made the most money. There's a lot of movies out there that are made. Listen, and we can go all the way back to Thor: Love and Thunder. Thor: Love and Thunder is a horrendous movie. Made over $700 million. Thunderbolts is the best comic book movie of the year. I don't know how much. What is it at 400? So yeah, if we're not going to have an actual honest conversation about box office without acting like we're rooting for sports teams, don't really want to talk about that either. So I'm challenging the chat tonight. This is your time. Bring us something that we have not been talking about, that we haven't driven into the ground. I wonder if you guys can do that. Wednesday, yeah, I will be watching Wednesday. Probably, I think it premiered today. I think it premieres right now. I'll be watching that later. I'm not going to binge watch it, but I'll watch it like probably an episode or two a week because I think they released them all at once. How you doing, Jenna Martin? This Friday, obviously, we have Happy Gilmore 2. We have The Cable Guy. and on at some point during the weekend we're going to do a little Purpose movie. The one he donated for, which was Hotel Paradise. It looks like it's awful. He's trying to convince me that that's the worst movie that I've ever seen. Outside of Howard the Duck, which is worse for different reasons, and this movie looks like it's going to be worse for. So we're probably going to do Perps movie sometime on Saturday night or Sunday later on, because it does not look like it's appropriate for the middle of the day. So, but if you like, Friday is we're going to close this link up. You will not see this link anymore for movies like this. So if by the end of whatever movie we're watching on this coming Friday, you have your chance to donate and torture us. But it can be a good movie too. I mean, we don't have to chip in to funds to do awful movies. We can do some good ones too. It's just we've done awful movies because Brad's suffering is easy to monetize. All right. I only catch this live when I'm taking a piss break at 3 a.m. Then I go back to bed and watch it. Wow. Thanks, Samir. There's a graphic that'll stick with me. you aiming and listening to me at the same time. Thanks a lot, man. Well, at least you're watching. How you doing, my favorite cuddly koala bear from down under? Let's see. Yeah, I saw you post that. Has that been confirmed? Because I the first time I heard about it, it was when I scrolled past and I saw you on my timeline with that. He kind of built that network. Let me look at that, because that would be ground shaking. I mean, I guess he's probably getting closer to retirement age anyway. But yeah, I hadn't heard about that. Howard Stern cancel. Let's see. Cancel. Current contract is ending. I'm hearing that Caesar's son. Okay, so they're in contract negotiations, but it hasn't been anything official. But his future is in question. So there you go. All right. William, would Thunderbolts have done better at the box office if the title was New Avengers or if the film was called Dark Avengers? No, because either way, the audience is going to know that that's not the Avengers. See, the audience doesn't just associate the Avengers name. They associate the Avengers with some of the old school people. They associate Avengers with Chris Evans. They associate Avengers with Robert Downey Jr. Now, I don't know how this next Avengers is going to do, because a lot of them may not be in those specific characters, but I think a lot of those actors will be back. Obviously, you've seen a lot of them coming back, but you also have it being a movie that is going to open up the door to a lot of Marvel's history going back to the Fox days. So, but no, I don't think Thunderbolts would have done anything, because you would have still known that it wasn't the Avengers that you associate that name to. Daniel Martin William, do you have any advice for somebody who's struggling at a new job? It's only the third day. There's a language barrier between myself and the trainer. I'm getting frustrated to pick it up. Okay. When it comes to language barriers, the easiest thing I've always found, if I'm not completely adjusting to somebody who's speaking a different language, or if there's a heavy accent or something like that, is don't always read necessarily what they're saying. Try to read their tone and what they're doing. If you need to let them know, though, too. I have always found it, honestly, if there's somebody who you're not communicating with and you're not understanding for reasons like that, you need to let them know, I'm having a hard time understanding you sometimes with your accent. Do it in a professional way, because you don't want to seem like you're calling out ethnicity or anything like that. But at the same time, the communication, no matter what, is the key. If there's a language barrier that's preventing you from being effective at your job, then that's got to be addressed. That's got to be addressed. And you just say, hey, I don't always understand you. Is there a way, slow down? I mean, there's a lot of things that it's not a pleasant conversation to have. But if there's a communication issue and a language barrier, you're not. It's not going to get any better, per se, unless you start getting used to the person so much where their tendencies and where they don't need to speak. But that takes a while. And depending on what the job is, it may be essential that it may be essential if you're not getting it. You also need to find out: are you the only one? Is it a crew of people that are being trained that don't get it? Also, some of the other people maybe that have been there longer than you, if they're if they've been trained by this person, maybe commune with them and see how they got through it. But either way, one way or another, you're going to have to address the communication problem because you can't move forward without it. And as soon as you do, it might be easier. As long if that person knows that you're not getting what they're selling because of a language barrier, they may be able to take steps to make it easier for you guys to comprehend each other. So that's the only advice I could give you there. Hope it works out for you though. Question: when did the domestic box office become a thing? I don't know. I remember back a while ago, people were more focused on the worldwide box office. Well, fans change from one day to another. We don't know what the fuck we're talking about half the time anyway. So that you could go back to 2013. If you're being realistic, the global a lot of people, most professional level people, will focus on the domestic box office. For the primary reason is overseas money. You get so less of it, and the reporting on overseas numbers are you're allowing China to report the numbers. They're going to report things from their point of view and using their own statistics, their own metrics. We use different things over here to judge those same type of box office numbers. Plus, the priority is always going to be domestic because you're only giving up 35% of the money back to the box office off the top, whereas overseas, usually, that, as far as I know, the host country gets the majority of the money. So a lot of different reasons, but when fans will shovel that shit to whatever hole makes them, it strengthens their argument. If the global number is mind blowing, then that's what we'll use. If the majority of the money is made overseas, and it's the numbers somebody wanted to reach to push their narrative, then that's what they'll use. So. But when you're looking at like professional people who are deciding whether to fund the movie or whether a movie is working, global box office is like I said, when you're talking about overseas box office, that's more for bragging rights than anything else, because like I said, you don't get the majority of that money. You get some of the money, but you don't get, like I said, the host countries generally get the lion's share of that money. It's a flip from where we do here. But yeah. Domestic box office, like I said, the most recently, especially in the month of July, it's been people, cheerleading whatever movie that they were rooting for and using those numbers to bolster that. Peacemaker has another one of the Snyder versions exist. That's possible. We're gonna hold off on the Peacemaker speculation until we watch the first episodes, and then because, like I said, all of it is speculation at this point. My place of employment, which is a printing and binding company, folded in 2023. I've just been struggling to get established anywhere else. Yeah, it's tough, man. It's not easy. Should Brave and the Bold resemble Adam West Batman? How DC took I don't think so. Because Christopher Reeve was basic Superman. When you're talking about doing Adam West is not. Yeah, that kind of campy thing worked because it was the 60s. You would not be able to do that now. It took a long time for Batman in general to rehabilitate from that. Here's Brad. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would not think that. And he's already stated that he's not doing camp with Batman, so that eliminates the Adam West thing. I don't think he could though.
Yeah, probably not. Well, speaking of DC related stuff, I actually had one go live today on Comic Book that I think William in particular will appreciate. Oh no, well, unless you hate Kingdom Come. 5 reasons why Kingdom Come is such a beloved DC comic story.
Oh my goodness. You woke up on the side of nonviolence this morning. All right. Well, how about that?
So yeah, I'll go here and
by the way, but hold your thought. That Kingdom Come presentation at Comic-Con was fucking awesome, man. They did a little presentation for the people, the Kickstarter people, but they had They had the people that were working on it there. But when you walk into Adam or Alex Ross's booth and it's all set up that way, I tried to get you guys filming pictures as much as possible. But yeah, they really, you know, to me, Big Kingdom Come is one of the greatest miniseries ever done. And at the time it was released at a really bad time for comics, in my opinion.
96, yeah.
1996, which you already know how I feel about the 90s and why I feel that way. But you had some things in the 90s that were really, really good. Age of Apocalypse stands on its own to this day, 30 years later. And then 29 years later, this right here changed the game as far as it brought Elseworlds to a different level, because it showed you that the Elseworld stories going forward did not have to be one shots. They have revisited this universe. See, there are people who have done inspired projects from Kingdom Come. We did our own special a couple earlier in our run about Kingdom Come and its importance to these things. So it just gets, with each passing moment, Kingdom Come becomes more important because it has influenced so many things, and it's influencing James Gunn in ways I didn't want it to. That fucking S belongs right here in this picture.
Well, I mean, this was like the first image I think he put out too when the news broke that he was going to be DC Studios co-head, and he put out this image of from Kingdom Come, and I think it's still kind of like debatable whether he meant this is going to culminate in a Kingdom Come story, or whether this kind of meant like we just got big plans kind of thing. I think you can like read that either way. I mean, other than obviously use the Kingdom Come S shield, but I don't know. Would you say that like right now, if you had to interpret that, when he put out this image, is like, would you say it's like building the Kingdom Come, or just we got big massive plans for DC?
I think he meant he put that S out, and he was going to be different from everything else that had hit the screen. He's always going to be now the first one to use this in a major motion picture. He's the first one to use this particular S. I mean, Brandon Routh used it on a TV show that nobody saw, but he's the first one to do a major Superman movie with that S. And I think that S symbolizes that this is my Superman. Yeah. Now, I don't know going forward because I can't read his mind. I hope not, because I don't think you can tell the type of stories leading up to Kingdom Come, because they've had prequels and stuff leading up to Kingdom Come, and they just don't have it for me. And the reason why is because Kingdom Come, these characters are not people, they're symbols, and it's what has the symbol become in the absence of time. And I think it actually weakens the story when you actually figure out when you actually lay out what happens in the 20 some odd years since Superman has left and gone on the farm, and Hal's gone from space, and Wonder Woman has gone away, and Magog is taken over. When you actually see that unfold, it's like I really didn't need to see that, because the symbolic passing of the torch to the wrong people was all I needed to see. So I don't know what he means to do with it, but I don't necessarily think it means Kingdom Come.
Well, so going into the 5 reasons I went with here. So number 1, Kingdom Come centers on older versions of DC, some iconic heroes. I mean, pretty much goes without saying. It's we got it's like it's an Elseworlds, but it's something we hadn't seen before. It's like kind of like a 20 years later, like what would Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman look like kind of story. Number 2, Kingdom Come, heroes versus heroes tale. Again, it's like he was called Captain Marvel at the time, but we got a pretty awesome Superman versus Shazam smackdown. Batman and Superman are odds in this. The whole DC superhero community is kind of fractured and whatnot in the future told in Kingdom Come. So that's that side of it. Number 3, Kingdom. Yep, I think probably just about everybody. You don't even have to read Kingdom Come to agree with this. Kingdom Come's artwork is some of the greatest in comic book history. I mean, again, proof's in the pudding. It's
all painted artwork. It's Alex Ross who is all painted artwork. That takes every single panel in this comic book is a painted panel. That's not done these days because of the expense and the length of time. You can still see it done, but it's not for that. In 1996, it was not, you had some miniseries that did it, but not on this scale.
Yeah, well, I use the term in the section. It's each image. It's almost like an Italian Renaissance painting. That's like the artwork that he was trying to imbue Kingdom Come with. That's really I mean, you look at anything Alex Ross has done, that's what his artwork resembles. And I mean, Kingdom Come is like, I think most people would agree, is really kind of his sort of crowning achievement.
Well,
As far
he
as
says
Alex
this.
Ross
He
artwork.
says it is. That's why he.
Yeah.
You see how he treats Kingdom Come. It's it's easy in there.
And then you were just alluding to this a minute ago. Kingdom Come is the quintessential DC Elseworld story, because I think it's. I don't think it's exaggeration to say it's like if you ask people like name like an Elseworld story, this is probably going to be one of the first, if not the first, that comes to mind. Is Kingdom Come. I mean, it's got the Elseworlds logo.
Yeah, I mean Gotham by Gaslight, things like that, Red Sun. Those are big ones. But here's the thing, though. It is
Dark Knight Returns. Yeah.
Well, no, Dark Knight Returns is not an Elseworld. It kind of technically falls into that latter category, but it's not an Elseworld by design. Now, the difference between Kingdom Come and all the other Elseworld stories that come before and most that would come afterwards, each one of those focuses on one particular event that differed and created a different character. Like Red Sun, what if he landed in Moscow instead of Kansas? Gotham by Gaslight, what if Batman had existed prior to that and he was hunting Jack the Ripper? Those are incidents. Each one of those took a significant change, and that's where the story went. Kingdom Come was the first one to go in depth of a world build. It was the first world building Elseworld. It was the first one that went into depth of every single character that was in existence.
Yeah, it's strictly a Superman or a Batman story, although they're very prominent in it. It's a DC story. Yeah,
it's Earth. It's that multiverse, and it's definitely an Elseworld story. It redefined what Elseworlds was. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I can agree with pretty much everything.
And last but not least, Kingdom Come embodies the mythic image of DC like no other comic book story, and that kind of going to that is, I mean, when we think of the way I describe it is, if you described like the layman, like how would you what's the biggest difference between DC and Marvel? Marvel kind of portrays their heroes. I mean, and there is exceptions on both sides.
The world outside your window, according
exactly. And then DC, it's the gods of Olympus is the way the heroes are portrayed in DC, and Kingdom Come is really just. It just emphasizes that to an extent that I don't think we've even seen even in comics prior to this before. It really portrays them like these are the Olympians living among us. These are deities living among us. Is the story and the artwork and the characterizations, like everything about Kingdom Come really portrays them and like these are gods among men.
And this is why I don't like the cartoonish aspects when people try to do it sometimes in live action, because you're taking the mythology and turning it into, you're softening it up. So that's one of the reasons why I couldn't go above a 7 when it came to Superman, is because I felt that the mythology wasn't there as much as other movies have done it. All right, Daniel, have you heard and do you agree with Sean O'Rourke's point of view that marketing and budget of a movie shouldn't be counted against the studios because it's right off the bat? No. Yes and no. It shouldn't be counted. I don't know about the tax situation. He may be right there, but I got a different reasoning of why I would say it shouldn't be counted against a movie, because more than just that one movie benefits from that advertising budget. When that movie gets released in the theaters, that's just the beginning. You're talking about physical media that gets the benefit of that advertising. You're talking about PVOD that gets the benefit. You're talking about merchandising. You're talking about so many divisions of a company that get the benefit of that marketing. And because what marketing is awareness. You're not just talking about awareness of a movie. You're not just talking about the awareness, of Fantastic Four First Steps. You're talking about the awareness of the IP. And once you make people aware of the IP, you can make money from all different ways. So it would be unfair to put the weight of the budget on one movie when HBO Max or something is going to be benefiting from that, because they don't have to advertise for a movie that's coming to their streaming platform. PVOD, Vudu, all these other things, they are benefiting from that advertising campaign. The toys, who license the toys, those people are benefiting from the awareness of that advertising campaign. So the movie should never really be the one thing that bears the brunt of all the advertising, when a whole bunch of other hands outside of that filmmaking process are going to get the benefit of that. So that's why I think that it should be on there.
Anyway, I just went there and shared it in the comments you guys want to give to read. But as I'm writing this a couple days ago, I'm like, oh yeah, gonna have to share this on the show because I know Williams, like, this is definitely like right up his alley. So 5 reasons why Kingdom Come is such a beloved DC comic story, right there for you guys to check out.
Yeah, and I've covered Kingdom Come on the channel extensively. It actually sits on my shelf as one of the things that if a brand new collector walks in, I can pick it up and I can hand it to them because it gives you the basic constructs that you already expect and know of each of these superheroes to begin with, and it allows you to start from there.
And see, even in '96 when it was coming out, because I didn't read it like back in '96 was when I first read it, but it was ubiquitous. It was a hit on the level where like you couldn't miss it. Where it's like you were just seeing that image one way or another of like the S Shield and the Gray Temple Superman and the mech suit Batman and the Wonder Woman wingsuit. It's, just the iconography of the images alone just made it like, even if you weren't actively reading it, which I didn't until years later, you still, it's like you knew of this through some means, through some form of fashion. Like, oh, there's this, like, again, just on the S Shield alone, you knew there's this new version of Superman, new version of DC.
Oh, and his hair was gray,
yeah.
And the Superman S was only recognizable because of the rest of the costume, because of that black background, which I think is really important. Which is why I don't like to see it modernized in different stories. That's just me personally. So, will Superman eat because he's hungry, or does he just like to taste the rest of it? I think he does need to eat. I think he does need to eat to maintain just regular, normal humanoid function. I don't think the Earth's sun makes it so that he no longer needs food. But it all depends on who's writing him rational as well too.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun to write that one though, because like I said, I've started like in the last couple months of comic book. I've actually started, written about movies, TV, all that for a long time. It's like now I actually finally started on the comics, a beat of it, and big kind of area of attention I've had on that because it's basically been. It's been a lot of as far as DC is concerned, a lot of absolute DC or DC Earth One. Those have been kind of like the ones I've like either for like current stuff or like kind of retro stuff. Not to say I haven't done others, like with Spider-Man. I've done a lot like going back kind of looking at older stories and sort of breaking them down.
I haven't picked up DC Earth One in like 8 years.
Yeah,
2010 when that came
I
out.
was really into Earth One when that was going on. Earth One just spoke to me, man.
It bombed, man. I'm sorry.
And that's Earth One was rad. Or it's like Superman Earth One alone. Like Superman,
it was the wrong series at the wrong time when nobody was really there. DC was going too many changes.
Well, it was starting like just before New 52, and that was kind of like full. And then they had because it didn't like officially end, but it kind of like just petered out, with Batman Volume 3 in 21. So it had such a sporadic publication.
Yeah,
I mean that was,
and that sellers didn't really want to be bothered with it, because when you have that, it's kind of went to a doomsday clock, ruined doomsday's clock. Not among other things. But when you mess with publication,
go ahead and read this on Bring Up Rationals.
Do you want James Gunn to tackle Kingdom Come with his style, or more prominent or less distracting filmmaker like a Christopher? It doesn't matter. I think I wouldn't mind. I don't think James Gunn has a style. I don't think James Gunn, head of DC Studios, has a style. I think James Gunn, the director, has only shown you what people have asked him to do, with the exception of Suicide Squad. But if the task is to make a Kingdom Come, I don't think you would see a James. I don't think you would see a James Gunn style as you've seen it anywhere else, because as somebody who respects that comic, just because he's giving you dick jokes and fart jokes doesn't mean he can't give you anything else. I often bring up Jonathan Demme. I think he would be more than capable of presenting an accurate tone-wise Kingdom Come, because that would be the mission. So no, I wouldn't have a problem. I would rather see I would rather see of Denis Villeneuve, because I think, even though I think James Gunn is capable of doing it, I think Denis Villeneuve is a better director.
As we've mentioned on here many times before, Zack Snyder is just, Kingdom Come's right up his alley.
I'd rather see someone, I'd rather see that be a high-end type of situation. But then again, like I said, I think James Gunn gets classified as things that people just they can't comprehend, that people can do other things, just because it's, like I said, Jonathan Demme, Silence of the Lamb. If we were if we just thought that all that guy could do was rom-coms, then we would never get one of the greatest horror movies of all time.
So Rational, Man of Steel. Yes, I'm telling you guys, if you have not read Superman Earth 1 Volume 1, I mean, it's
See, and
it,
I
it,
have,
it, it, it's
and I
I'm
don't
telling
see
you,
it.
I don't know how can you miss it, man? I mean, the ship shows up. He's doing his he's doing his heroic deeds in shadow. He's keeping himself hidden from the world. A ship shows up. An alien invasion comes and says, "Hey, turn over the Kryptonian in 24 hours, or we're going to blow the place up." And he has to step up and say, "I'm Superman now." It's like, I'm telling you guys, if you have not read Superman Earth 1, you're just going to be it will just blow you away how I go as far as to say that Man of Steel is essentially Superman Earth 1 the movie. I mean, it is crazy how close it is. And the biggest difference is Zod is not he becomes a villain in Volume 3. And in Volume 3, he's actually Superman's uncle in Superman Earth 1 Volume 3. But it's not Zod leading the invasion. It's another alien called Tyrell who's leading it in Earth 1. But again, it's like just the basic foundation, the basic backbone of the story. It is, I'm telling you, Man of Steel. I just don't know why Superman Earth 1 doesn't get cited more than it has been as just the clear, just inspirational or the clear story inspiration for Man of Steel. It's just it's boggles my mind because they are so close, they are so parallel.
The more you hear about this universe, the more I don't care. You have that right as a customer, Bell. Be honest with you, like I said, I think people are going to have the real test is going to be Supergirl. But I just don't think people are going to be accepting as that Supergirl as they were of the Superman.
Well, again, with Peacemaker season 2, he's got 100 universes to work with now, apparently. So you might not have to sell for just one.
Well, and like I said, it all depends on what he puts into the forefront. But listen, after the hype is done, and after people some of whom are backing this movie, are backing whatever movie because they want to be affiliated with something or they want to stick it to another fan base. Once all the dust settles down and all you have left is the people who are actually watching the movies, who knows how popular this is going to be.
I'm telling you, man, it's like Earth 1 just did not get the love that it should. It didn't get the run that it deserved.
You don't deserve anything if you're not selling.
But the problem, I mean, the biggest problem was that it was just. It was just like once in a blue moon. Like, here's another Earth 1 book that would just drop on the shelf out of nowhere. I loved it when they did. Because I was really, really just in rapture with Earth 1. But again, it was the gap between each one. I mean, it wasn't even like a year. I mean, there would be 2-3 year gaps between Volume 1, Volume 2 of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and again, it's over the course. It's between 2010 to 2021, and we got what was it? It was 3 volumes of Superman, 3 volumes of Batman, 3 volumes of Wonder Woman, 2 of Green Lantern, and I think it was just 1 of Teen Titans.
It just didn't connect. It just didn't connect with readers. All right. See, here's the thing about you guys. Every director has a style, but what you guys narrow your perception of what you think that style is, and that's wrong. Because Ridley Scott had a style. There are elements of Ridley Scott in Thelma and Louise, but would you have expected a movie like that from him? No. Everybody would just assume that the only things Ridley Scott could do are science fiction, and science fiction horror. That's how we think. But then he goes and does other things. There's still Ridley Scott's style in those movies, but those aren't the movies you expected from him. That's not the range you expect from him. And it's going to be the same thing as James Gunn. You guys are narrowing your perception of what James Gunn to do based on what you've seen. You're not inside of his creative mindset. You're not, in the side of the writer's room or whatever, where the mission is changing. Same thing with Jonathan Demme. Fans with our limited scope, ooh, Jonathan Demme, that's cute. But when he goes and does that, did anybody expect that from him? No, but there are certain style elements in Silence of the Lambs story structure that are in all of his movies. And it's the same thing with actors. We always do that's why fan casting is usually bullshit for the most part. It's fun. I understand why people do it, but we limit ourselves to what we've seen and what we think that person can do. Like Heath Ledger. You know, no one would have pulled Heath Ledger out of that name out of the hat when you're thinking of who the next Joker is. Everybody had their fan casting nonsense about just because they saw this guy in white makeup somewhere. You know, they even had Mark Hamill. Oh, Mark Hamill did the voice, so yeah, he's got to be. That's the kind of shit we use to define what an actor, producer, writer can do, and that's kind of unfair to that performer. Yeah, he has a style, but does he have the range to apply that style into something you're not expecting? And I think every high-end director or producer or writer does, or actor does. So I would have, as somebody who adores Kingdom Come, I would have no problem with James Gunn tackling on, and I would have no problem dismissing the it's going to be more like Guardians, or it's going to be more like Peacemaker. No, those aren't the mission if he's tackling Kingdom Come. The mission will change, and most smart people can adjust to a mission. And I don't think he's a dummy. I think he'd be just fine. You know, we're not talking about somebody without talent directing these things, you know, without experience. And, you know, and there's, like I said, there's a lot of things you do when these certain things are required from you. And there's certain things you do when other things are required from you. You know, that's all. But no, as far as him having a style, that's fine. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have the range and the diversity to evolve from just what you guys expect him to be, or anybody. Apply that not just to James Gunn, anybody. We should stop limiting these guys just based on what we think, what our perception is. PJ Hooker reboot was not on the bingo card, Ozzy.
Well, you know what, Aaron and I saw. Aaron, I know what we saw today. We saw some stuff about the Furious from Toronto. It's likened to Dragons Forever.
The fuck?
Oh, give us that trailer. Please give us that trailer. You had me at like Dragons Forever, Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, Jin Biao. It's like, it's like 5-way finale showdown. It's like, I needed this trailer yesterday. We are doing a watch party. We are doing a watch party. We
right,
1,000,000% doing a watch
whatever.
party.
Bell, I'm going to give you a director that has a style but has more range than even Ridley Scott. That's Michael Mann. Michael Mann, look at the stuff that Michael Mann was doing. Michael Mann was doing cop shows. Michael Mann was doing, you know, Live and Die in L.A., and then he turns around and does Manhunter. Then he turns around and does Heat. Then he turns around and does Ali. Is there anything in his catalog that says a guy like that can do Ali? But yet you see his signature in every single one of those movies. But not all of those movies are the same. And James Gunn is going to be the same way. Any director, even Zack Snyder, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised to see Zack Snyder do something. I would still see his style applied to it, but that doesn't mean it's going to be exactly like everything else he's done. I wouldn't be if somebody said, "Hey, Zack Snyder, I want you to do a comedy," and he took it on. I would still see elements of Zack Snyder in it, but that doesn't mean he can't do comedies just because he's never done one. Just because we've never seen something doesn't mean someone can't do something. That's, you know, what I'm trying to say. You need to start listening to different people then. You really need to start listening to.
I don't think it's that far off. I think the comparison is warranted. I think
both of you are out of your fucking minds.
I think tone lead is very, very, very akin to Guardians.
Okay, both of you are full of shit. Just kidding.
No,
are you being serious right now? Because I don't need a troll in the chat. Okay, both of you then. Be honest with you. I've seen Guardians a bunch of times. I know both of you are biased to this movie, which is fine. I don't know what the fuck both of you saw then.
It's very Guardians, guys, and that's not a judgment either way. But it's very Guardians.
I don't know what Guardians you saw.
I'm not saying it's like positive or negative. I'm not saying it's that criticism or praise.
Guardians.
It's absolutely very Guardians.
We need to do a Guardians watch party to remind you of what Guardians was. I mean,
yeah, then we'll do Superman after that, and it's very Guardians. I'm telling you guys, it's very. I'm not saying that to disparage it. I'm saying no, this is very Guardians-esque.
Wow. I have a lot of criticism about Superman. That's not one of them.
Definitely got a lot of needle drops in it too. I wouldn't call them distracting, but it's definitely got plenty of needle drops.
How many needle drops did you get in there?
It's got we got the punk rocker. We got like 3 or 4 others in there. Yeah, it's definitely. I'll tell you.
Okay, you just basically were you paying Listen, guys, you paid to go see a movie. Actually, look at the movie while it's going on the screen.
I did, and
because Guardians of the Galaxy had an entire movie worth of needle drops. If you're making that comparison, you reshaped the movie in your head.
I reshaped nothing. It's very Guardians-esque.
Reshaped. You have sat and thought about this movie, and it has turned into something in your head that it probably wasn't.
It turned into Guardians with the red cape.
Okay, now you're trolling.
Because that's what it was.
I'm going to do better with my show, guys. I'm going to do better, and I'm going to identify and recognize
it's not a praise or a criticism. I'm just saying it's like it's objectively speaking, it's very tonally similar to Guardians.
What the fuck did you see on the screen on the movie screen?
I saw James Gunn humor. I saw needle drops. I saw
remember what I said before?
Ensemble of characters.
All right. See, I don't know what you saw, but I also know how you felt going into this movie. So I remember I told you.
It's not a judgment, positive or negative, but it's objectively. This is not a matter of opinion. This is objectively a tonal cousin of Guardians.
Dude, this shit is like is up to your nostrils.
There is no way anyone can watch those two movies back to back and say these are not tonally similar.
I did.
I need what you're smoking, man, because it's like
I need what you're smoking.
No, it's like no. You.
But once again, you and Forth had a mindset going into this movie where it makes it really hard for me to take you guys. It makes it hard for me to take.
It's a recognition of tone. It's a recognition of style, and these two are unequivocally similar.
Whatever. Like I said, this is why I had that discussion with you on air about you giving this movie a fair shot, because I knew
I gave it a fair shot, and
this kind of conversation. I don't take seriously anyway when it comes to movies, but I knew we were going to reach this crossroads.
I gave it a fair shot, and I said,
"You just, dude."
It's not a criticism. Absolutely.
Anyway, we got other stuff to move on to because we're talking about a movie that has come out on July 11th. And a Guardians movie that I don't plan on seeing, until maybe around Christmas time. That has eaten up too much of the showtime.
I'm telling you, if you did a poll on this, the result will come back 98% of people say, yeah, this is very Guardians-like.
I did not see that. But like I said, if you have a limited scope of what you think James Gunn can do, everything is going to be Guardians.
It's not limited. It's saying this is lighthearted. This is lighthearted. This is funny. This is funny.
The whole conversation started because we got somebody in the chat who thinks James Gunn has a style that will preclude him from being anything else.
Well, that's not saying that with this. It's saying it's like lighthearted, comedy, animal, ensemble.
That's a simplistic
needle drop
perception of it, but that's yours. You can have that. I'm just like, I just can't take you seriously about Superman. I'm sorry.
We were before the year's out. We were watching this back to back, and everybody in the comments is going to say, "Yes, this is very Guardians-esque."
Sure, Brad. It's just like
we're going to do right after. We're going to do right after the Furious watch party.
Like I said, listen, guys, I am not saying Superman was a perfect movie, but I don't know what the fuck Kim and Forth are watching. That's all. Even how you doing, Ray? How you doing? Seems like we're going from adult content creature commandos to family-friendly Superman. There's a guy who gets a bullet to the brain of Superman. There goes your family-friendly. HBO Max series will be adult. Movies will be for kids. No, because Superman Woman of Tomorrow is not for kids. I don't know if fucking kids, maybe kids of my, that get raised by my parents, maybe. But no, I think there's going to be a lot of people who have a problem with Supergirl World Tomorrow. I'm thinking I'm going to enjoy it because I enjoy the miniseries, but I don't think people are ready for that. HBO Max series, especially if it's on a Sunday night. Oh, of course, it's going to be aimed towards adults, and I would expect no less. So no. And like I said, people got to realize that James Gunn is not going to be writing all these things. Lanterns is going to be distinctly different from what you saw in Superman or Creature Commandos, which is fine with me because, like I said, some of these things that he does, I'm just not going to watch because they're not out my alley. But Lanterns is, Supergirl World of Tomorrow is, Batman Brave with the Bold. I'm on the fence. Once again, guys, see, I'm glad that producers don't think like we do in YouTube, because nobody would ever get an opportunity other than what some base people think they are. I'm glad that producers sit down and screenwriters sit down and ask questions and have conversations over coffee, dinner, or whatever, and actually probe the minds of the people that are actually going to be in charge. And it's not just people on YouTube, just saying, "Oh, well, that guy made this movie. That's all he can do." That's kind of
That's what
Zaslav
said.
That's kind of insulting. To be honest with you. And even if a guy like Zaslav, that's not the way it's going to turn out. Just, like I said, Zaslav, and once again, Zaslav is not a filmmaker. I said filmmaker. I said producer. I said screenwriter. I said movie professional. Zaslav is none of the above. So when you're talking about people making big projects and knowing a name, producers don't be like, oh, that guy only makes this type of stuff. I should never sit down and talk with him and probe his mind and see what he can. Because you know what? At the end of the day, a storyteller is a storyteller, period. These people have range. I mean, you're saying that somebody can't rise to the occasion just because of some shit you saw and that your mind is fixated on that. That's kind of an insult. That's not fair. That's very limiting to some people whose job it is to create and come up with something. That's why you have these meetings. That's why you have auditions. That's why you have casting calls. That's why you have producers and directors come in and sit down to you. And I'm grateful that they don't look on the fucking internet and they're like, oh wait, that's all he can do. Shit, I guess he's off the board. So no, I mean, our perception of what these professionals can do is not the same as the people who actually write these stories, build these stories, and build these movies. So yeah, we can pass it along each other and do, laughing emojis like that. We don't have shit to do with making a movie. Thank God in some of our cases. What's up, Azteca? What's going on? I don't have any evidence of one way or another of how many universes he'll settle. I don't know his motives, but I doubt this is going to be the last time you see multiple universes, because it's going to be a tool. If you're doing anything DC and you don't use that tool, then you're really handicapping yourself. So he could go forever without using Elseworlds. I doubt it. I don't think he'd be putting this many. He would just do one dimension to write off his other dimension, and that will be it. If he's doing 100 different universes, then that leaves it open for a lot of different things to happen. And I don't think there's any reason to put a lid. That's just my opinion. Could be wrong. Let's see. Yeah, no, I met both of you. Because like I said, I think that's just very limited. But that's the luxury of not being the people who pick the people to do this stuff. We can say so. If I say something like that on the internet and it has, what do I know about a screenplay? What do I know about a director's genesis as far as his story? What do I know? Me saying that, yeah, I'm on YouTube. Who cares? But if Christopher Nolan ever were to produce a film, I'm pretty sure he knows people within his lexicon that are not necessarily known to do certain things, but because he's in that industry, he's going to know. You know what? How many times have these guys have had scripts and stuff go past each other's desks to where you might have a guy who's famous for one genre, but has had scripts being read by other people. And when it comes time to make those movies, you're like, you know what? I read your script last year about this so-and-so, and I know you have the idea of what I'm going for, how to tell this story. But we on the internet, we never saw that. All we saw was the front-facing stuff. So we're making our opinions based on that. But if you're at that level, you have to assume that these people aren't fucking Cro-Mags and they can actually evolve because that's what they're paid to do. That's literally their job, Okay. You're determining what the wheelhouse is, and that's kind of bullshit. You don't determine what James Gunn's wheelhouse is any more than I determine Uwe Boll's wheelhouse or anything like that. I don't fucking know. I mean, you may, like I said, that is your perception, and that's fine, but that's not something that any professional should use to do anything. Like I said, the perception from the outside is probably a lot different from the inside. I don't want Superman to reflect my current self. I want Superman to aspire to be Superman, but this fits current Hollywood, and I guess the young audiences want to see a character like. Be honest with you, and this is the big problem with Superman since 2010. This is just my opinion. I don't think audiences know what they want to see in Superman. It tends to change from one perception to another. That's why what James Gunn did is a composite Superman, just safe, basic Superman. You know, it allows everybody to get under the tent no matter what they think they want, to be honest with you. Because when every time you hear it out of somebody else's mouth, you know, what their perception of Superman is, it's different. It's different. So there's no one way I think anybody, you know, is gathering around to. And to be honest with you, 5 years from now, depending on where the world is, we could be looking at a different acceptance of Superman, or that Superman may have to change. But I don't know about the young audience of the characters, because beyond, you know, you can make a Superman for just about any audience, but you know, it all depends on where you want to come from. But you also had Crypto. Crypto is what gives it that perception of something you can take a family to. But once again, blows the guy's brains out right in the middle of his little prison there. What's up, Game City Saber? How you doing? Long time to see.
I don't think has he been by? I don't think I've seen him in the chat before.
He came by a ways ago. All right, so see, this is kind of sad. So enough, I'm going to use it as an example, not towards you, but there are a lot of directors and people out there that are just being waited to call on to tell the type of story that you may never think they're going to sell. And like I said, a style is one thing. You can say James Gunn has a style. I don't. Okay, let's just, you know, for argument's sake, leave it there. But does he have the range beyond that? Michael Mann had a style. He did Ali. There's a big difference between the Live and Die in L.A., Heat, and Ali. But yet there's a style, a pattern that goes throughout those movies. If Denis Villeneuve did a romantic comedy, please don't. But if Denis Villeneuve did a romantic comedy, I would still recognize that movie as that, but I would not place limitations on it. He could do something that's totally bereft of science fiction and large-scale epicness. Just because that's what he's done and that's what you're used to seeing from him, he's at such a high level that I would not be surprised to see him do something that had no giant aliens in it, no giant alien ships, no exotic locations. I could see him. If you told me Denis Villeneuve was going to do a fucking movie that took place, a rom-com that took place all at a bar and in no other location, you know what? I'd be like, okay. I wouldn't be like, well, no, he's never done that before. He'd never be able. What kind of limitation bullshit is that? Just because I've seen tons of Denis Villeneuve movies, I've seen his style, but am I going to put a collar on him like that and say, nah, you can't do that? Or expectations? And then I also don't want to do something that just basically says, just because I have this perception of a certain director, that every movie I see, I'm going to see that in every movie. I think some people do that. They get locked on a perception and they see that around every corner. And I don't think that's fair either, because to be honest with you, Christopher Nolan, a guy whose majority movies I don't like, but when he turned the corner and did things and evolved things to the two movies I did like, I gave him that benefit of the doubt of that he could do differently than he had done in previous movies. And when he does another movie, listen, I've never seen him do a fantasy like he's about to do. You know, most of the long-winded movies he does, not into him. But I'm going to give this the opportunity, because even at this stage of Christopher Nolan's career, who am I to put limitations on his movie making? It just sounds silly. All right, let's see. I wasn't here to prove you wrong, and I'm not here to change your mind. I'm just here to say what's on mine. That's it. This is not a war, guys. By the way, there is no scorekeeping here. There's no scorekeeping here. I think some of you come in here thinking, well, I showed him. The fuck out of here with that. Not you, man. But no, this is not a scorecard. I'm not here to change mine. You're not here to change mine. Now, if you bring some new information to something like that, maybe. But this is a conversation we're having. Conversations are not wars. Conversations are not wars. You're here to say your piece. I'm here to say mine. That's it. Proving you wrong was never, what the hell did I get out of that? I'm not here to dominate you or win over you. I mean, we're here to have a conversation. That's it. And if you think that I'm here to do that, why the fuck would you come back to my channel? You get that at work. You get that in your relationship. You get that with your coworkers. You're not going to get that here. I am not here to get a win over you. Mark Wade wrote it. I think I don't know if I need Alex Ross to oversee it because his visual style can be adapted, But Mark Wade wrote it, so I probably have Mark Wade there as far as Kingdom Come goes. See, that's an opinion that's based on that's your opinion, but that I can't see that as being fact, because what if he comes out and does something that blows both of our minds, and that's proved that wrong. And a lot of directors do that. We put them in these boxes. We classify them. Not the stories and the mission that they're putting in front of them. We as fans do that, and we have limited, in my opinion, limited scope to do that because, like I said, I don't know what scripts are being passed around in Hollywood. You could have a guy that's just done primarily comedy. Todd Phillips. There's nothing in Todd Phillips' category or catalog that tells me that's a Batman. Not Batman. I'm sorry, the Joker. The Joker would be what it was. It's Joker 2. Okay. What did Todd Phillips? We fill up Todd Phillips' resume. Was there anything in Todd Phillips' resume that said "Woo, Joker"? There's nothing in there that screams out at me about that. He did the Hangover movies, right? So that was Todd Phillips, if I'm not correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's nothing in those movies that says Joker. So thank God nobody limited. I don't know. That's just me. James Cameron. Yeah, James Cameron's another one. James Cameron, look at the range that guy did. Yet there's a distinctive, even in Titanic, a movie I only went to see the ship, destroyed. But if you look at Titanic and you look at where James Cameron, different James. James Cameron began his careers in what people, if he would have just gone on doing science fiction horror, everybody would go, that's what I expect from him. But he goes on to do Titanic. He goes on to do Avatar. And he goes on to do True Lies. True Lies is not, if I'm watching Terminator, True Lies, so we put limitations on these guys. And I'm like, all of these, if you're a director in Hollywood, I think you have the ability to do what's asked of you. Collateral 2004 is an underrated movie.
And she also, real quick, isn't that the one that crosses over into the Transformer or the Transporter universe?
What's that?
Yes, it is. Yeah, with the Jason Statham cameo.
What movie are you talking about? I'm sorry.
Collateral, where he meets Tom Cruise, and it's like, it's not stated outright, but it's like people would kind of like say, yeah, that's Frank Martin, the Transporter movies.
Now this Dark Knight, this might, when I have this on the screen, this might seem like hilarious, right? Because of what we know of Zack Snyder. But do I want to even limit him to not do something like this? Granted, rom-com not my thing, but is there anything in Zack Snyder's current catalog that would lead you to believe, if you were just basing it on his, current things he's done, that he could do his own Thelma and Louise, or he could do his own, Human Interest, St. Elmo's Fire? We've never seen him before, but we know that Zack Snyder is a storyteller. Is a visual storyteller with the right writer, right director. That guy, or producer and everything else, that guy can tell some epic stories, period. If he gets together with, by the way, I just reminded myself, got to nail down that Jay Leva.
Yes, let's do
this. But
yeah, I technically am responsible for William meeting.
Yeah,
so I told him he's at a booth. Wayne would never have
whatever.
This entire
Your
thing
bitch ass should have been down there with me in San Diego.
I did that for 3,000 miles away. So you're welcome, everybody. We get leave on here.
Anyway, but yeah, if we just looked at what Zack Snyder does, right? Should we limit Zack Snyder to say he could never do a Human Interest or that because he has a style? I just think that's sad. I hate seeing it done that way, and I also hate seeing it done with actors. That's why the Jim Carrey thing always bothers me, because I think that can be very powerful. We have these perceptions of these people that may have way the fuck more talent and range than we are ever giving them the credit to be. But we think this style thing means that we can't, that like, okay, if there is a style, we can't apply that style to the kind of storytelling that would change the game. Like I said, I just gave you 2 or 3 directors that, you know, unless they did these type of movies, everybody would have kept them in the box. And that's like, I don't think that's fair. Dark comedy. Yeah, I mean, dude, he did Rick and Morty. Haven't directed Rick and Morty episode.
Actually, at Comic-Con, one of the Rick and Morty guys was saying there was a possibility Zach actually might become like a recurring character on Rick and
That'd
Morty.
be hilarious. Him and James
That'd be
Gunn,
awesome. I hope they do that.
have them kill each other every episode. They just
yeah, Gun too. Yeah, it's like that'd be so cool. It's like, and that's what I've been wanting to write something on this for a while. It's like I really think Zach should keep this side of his career going where he's playing like a caricature of himself, like an animation or what have you. It's like because he you can see how much he leans into like the perception of him with each voice role he's done, and it's just it's so hilarious. Every time he's played himself, it's been so hilarious. Like, then not just animation, but also, you know, he had the studio where he was what was that, at the Emmys? He's playing himself at the Emmys, and he said something like, "Yeah, it's like my next movie is gonna have like a 4-hour cut, and it's gonna be nothing but slow mo and shit like this." So. Yeah, I really hope he keeps this up, or it's like he's a filmmaker, but he also plays himself with regularity on sitcoms and things like that. That'd be pretty awesome.
Exactly. But he did in the Joker what was asked of him to do, and I think any director of that level, and James Gunn is of that level, whether you like him or not, that James Gunn, if something is put in front of him that calls for something different than what he's done before, I think all of these people are more than capable of doing it. I don't think this style would ever preclude that. No, Michael Mann hasn't done comedy, but what's to say that he could not? See, that's what I mean. Michael Mann is a storyteller. Michael Mann is a guy who can compel you to believe in what he is doing. Why would I believe that he couldn't get me to believe in something that had humor and comedy into it? Just because I've never seen it, I have given him the respect as being a storyteller. I'm not going to lock him into something just because I don't think he can do it. I have not seen him necessarily do that. He has ascended to a level, all of these people have ascended to a level to where I think they could do just about anything they wanted to if that was their mission. And we shouldn't be limiting them, in my opinion. Clover, because let's see. I wish I could get a refund. Get a refund on what? Oh, the movie you saw? Listen, hey, start saying babies for crying and throwing up. That's what I do. Cloverfield. Hello, senior nerd. I didn't see him come in.
I read something about that might actually have a re-release in October. Cloverfield.
I heard they're working on a new one. Which, man, do better, guys.
They're working on what? They're working on what?
I heard they're working on. No, you're both. I don't depth. Ironically, you use the word depth because I think you're both being shallow here. This is my opinion.
It's absolutely a Guardians-esque Superman movie.
But once again, I know what both of you thought about them. You know, I know if Forth still thinks. I don't even think Forth has seen it yet. First of all, yeah, why the fuck am I talking to you about a movie you haven't seen?
Well, I have seen it. I've seen it twice. Okay. And I can tell you it's
so you're communing with a guy who hasn't seen it, just heard some shit. Fuck.
And I'm the guy who saw some shit. It's like,
all right,
Guardians-esque guys.
We're not listen. Too much Superman talk. We did our Superman talk, guys. We did our Superman talk. It's not like we didn't cover Superman. We're moving into fucking August now. I really don't want to talk about Superman anymore unless it's leading to something else going to DC.
Well, he might be in Peacemaker, so he might be seeing.
Then we talk about him. But I think we're running into that danger of just talking something down to the bones, and I don't want to do that. Or if your opinions on Superman are muted because you didn't even see that movie until you actually watch it, maybe you should get that was senior nerd talking.
I have seen it. Okay, so I'm not speaking in a vacuum here. If I hadn't seen the Guardians movies, you might have, then you could. And
you know what? There may be some people who believe. Listen. I'm in the preface. I've seen the Guardians movies. I like 2 out of the 3. Second one was all right. I don't see it.
I'm very lukewarm on the whole franchise.
I thought they were. I think the second one just lost me a little bit, but it got me back. Three was
Third-
three was a hard watch because of all the brutal shit that happened.
Two actually probably is my. I mean, and I again, like I said, I'm lukewarm on all of them, but two is actually probably the one I would rate the highest. Me personally,
Mighty Rax. I'm sorry, Crypto. That heathen dog is not a copy of Cosmo.
and that's why Heathen Dog is not inaccurate either, because that dog actually started to annoy me, and I'm a dog person.
Yeah, that Cosmo as a character, the way they did Cosmo was kind of consistent with what they did. Crypto, they just did. He just
Crypto, he jumps on people and grabs Lex Luthor. And he does the whole going to town on Loki.
Which is yeah, I did think about that the other day when
who did
you don't talk about that? Oh my god, dude! I swear to God, I almost tore something.
Oh, my theater, yeah, it was like the as much as loath as I am to praise anything Joss Whedon at this point in my life, I can't deny that was a. In fact, here's a true story for you. Like when the first Avengers hit, when it came on Blu-ray and all that. That's actually. Did you ever go to? There was an offshoot of GameStop. It's called Movie Stop. Used to be around.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, I don't think they're really they kind of shut that operation down. But it was like an affiliate of GameStop, and there was one that used to be close to me, and they would do midnight releases for things that were big hits, and they did one for Avengers. So I went to the midnight release party for Avengers, and that was a lot of fun. They did that. They won for that. They won for Man of Steel. They did one for like Captain America vs. Avenger. There were a bunch I did. There were a lot of fun for that. And then when it was over, paid for the movie, took it home. And when I got home, put it in, and I skipped straight to the part of Loki getting the shit beat out of him by the Hulk, and I put on the commentary. That was the first thing I did once I had that disc. And Whedon says like he lets the scene play. He goes quiet while Hulk's tossing Loki around, and he said something to the effect of, "I need to pull it up again," but something along the lines of, he said, if I did nothing for the last 2 years of my life, but just make that, if I just sat on my butt and just made that, it's like I'd die a happy man. It's like, okay, you're an asshole, but pretty awesome scene. And so I can't imagine like tons of people didn't. Immediately flash back to. I mean, come on, a gun had to be thinking of that when he wrote that scene. It's like, yeah, I want to do that with in the concept of Superman movie. It's like, yeah, okay, let's give it to Krypto and have him toss Lex around. And yeah, that was I still remember to this day that was the audience just completely lost it. I kind of it's interesting too looking back on that, because I remember like talking with friends when that came out. Do you think? Because the humor of that is that he cuts off Loki and then beats him up and tosses him around. Do you think it would have improved or hurt the scene if he stood there, if he let Loki finish his big monologue and then he did it? It's like,
no, the effect of him just being abruptly snatched out the air and just because we had heard Loki talk at that point, and just the Hulk just having no fucking respect, and right as he said, "I'm a god," and then the Hulk.
I will not be. Should we pull that up? Let's pull that up scene up and like.
Oh no, we're gonna get shut down.
Okay, but still, yeah, it's
great. I love that movie.
Yeah,
that movie is the second most important movie in comic books right now. X-Men in that movie, and they both represent platforms going forward. But the Avengers, even though it looks cheesy now, 15 or 13 years later,
cheesy now. I think it's aged pretty well.
It is the second most important comic book movie that's been made, in my opinion.
I don't think it's cheesy. I think it's aged pretty well.
Sinners is my number one movie of the year. Sinners is the best movie of the year for me. After Sinners, it's Thunderbolts. I mean, people, I understand a lot of people didn't go see Thunderbolts, but I think that movie is much deeper and much more introspective and more the performances, everything about that movie. That's the best superhero movie of the year.
Here's something else too with that, because I was thinking about this, like kind of all the consternation about the second weekend drop. That's something else I really hope. I'd love for that to go away too. Like, and we saw the DC side with BVS, and now we're seeing it with Marvel with Fantastic Four. I'd love for all this, like the sky is falling, when the second weekend, when it drops by an abnormal percentage, it's like because we saw what happened, the first go around, and now it's afraid it's gonna happen on Marvel side. So please stop with the doom and gloom on the second weekend drop on superhero movies, guys. But
oh yeah, that's I guess Kevin Feige, if you're watching from under your bed because of your 66% drop, I hope you're gonna be okay. I think you are. You know what? This is gonna cover this on Friday or Saturday, by the way, because we're gonna be back to our normal schedule on Saturday. I think it's time for us on as like non-executives and just to stop talking box office, because so much stuff has seeped into the box office conversation that it just doesn't mean anything anymore. We want to start counting when we want to start counting. We want to stop counting when we want to stop counting. We want to use different angles, and we don't want to include things when it comes to just fans in general. I think we are doing damage to the movie talk conversation with the constant box office thing. Not because a movie that I thought was going to do well, because I still think Fantastic Four ended up doing well, but I thought it would do a lot better.
Well,
but if we're gonna have the conversation about Superman's box office, people like Bell says it hasn't broke even, it's not a financial success, y'all need to stop gaslighting. Bell, I'm not gaslighting.
Well, you even said, like, leading into it, like, if you were in the driver's seat on that, you'd say it's like you'd feel comfortable under circumstances then losing some money on it.
If it lost money and the conversation about Superman is a mostly positive one, and I have other measurables that I can gauge whether this movie had an impact, and then if I can go forward, I would have been okay with losing it a little bit. But when you consider, and Bell, we've all been here and watched DC for the last 10, 15 years. And when you consider what the franchise was been dragged to by mismanagement, for it to reach 500 is like I said, it's not a blockbuster. I understand what you're saying, Bill. But given the circumstances, given the Hamadas, given the Sarnoffs, given the Emmerichs, given the Johns, given what Zack Snyder has put through, given what the brand has been put through and what they gave us instead of the big wigs, it's an accomplishment. I'll have to at least give it that.
What would you say before I'm going to get to my other point in a second here, but what would you talk about? Like, you would have been okay with it losing. What would have been like an unacceptable level of like money loss on this, from your perspective?
Anything less than like about 350 would have been bad, because
so if it topped at 350, it's like that
would have been something that we're gonna have to make some major. Also, you would have to ask the question: does it have the draw? Has the damage done by the predecessors damaged the draw to the point? Because you're kind of seeing that with not with the predecessors, but when you think Fantastic Four is an awesome movie that's paying for the Marvels, that's paying for Captain America, Brave New World, that's paying for Hawkeye, that's paying for some of the mid-level stuff that has just lost the attention of their core audience. But does that have anything to do with that particular movie? See, both Superman and Fantastic Four are dealing with things that don't have anything to do with their movie that might affect your box office. And when I say maybe it's time for us to stop talking box office, where a lot of people just don't want to consider a lot of these things that are really relevant,
And so here's the other thing as it relates to Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts. Because I was thinking about this too, in light of like all the conversation about like weekend 2 for Fantastic Four. Do you think maybe in hindsight, they both might have benefited if they swapped release frames, like if Fantastic Four came out in May and then Thunderbolts was kind of like the summer wrap up?
Like, okay, well, no. Somebody asked me this before too. I think somebody asked me last night. No, because Thunderbolts is not. It's not when Thunderbolts came out. There's a sneeze coming out. It's who the Thunderbolts were in the pattern of that level of superheroes being what Marvel has been giving you. Like we were talking about before, Thor: Love and Thunder was the last A-lister or perceived A-lister for them to give you, and that wasn't a very good movie. It made a lot of money, but a lot of people saw a bad movie. All right, then we have the Marvels, which wasn't the worst movie of all time, but it's not the heavy hitters. Yeah. Shit. But what's happening is you carved out your ace with these big name characters, and then you give them things like this because Thunderbolts is an awesome movie. It's a great movie. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. But it didn't make a lot of money because it was a bunch of cast-off characters from a bunch of cast-off shows and cast-off movies. That's what Marvel's given you in 5 years for the most part. So But I don't think it would have benefited. I think it would have. The only way I think Thunderbolts would have benefited is if the lineup were different. But if the lineup were different, it would have been a different movie, and I might not have loved it.
Well, that's why I was kind of thinking that, because the Fantastic Four, I mean, they are the more high-profile team. So would they not be the one that's better positioned to be like kind of like the summer leadoff?
Well, I think any movie that was now in hindsight, any movie that was released in the last those of summer, straddling back to school and things, being any movie that wasn't the first, because if you look up the average, I looked this up today because I couldn't believe it, because I thought we were multiple moviegoer people, but the average moviegoer, appears, and if somebody wants to refute me, pull up your stats because I want to see those as well. But from what the research I was looking at, it's still, for the most part, the average family goes to the movie once a month. So if that's the case, you got your once a month either with the dinosaur or Superman before the third weekend of the month. A lot of this would have been just, it wasn't a matter of fact, well, Superman head to head or Jurassic Park head to head. It was the order of precedent. When you were available, when your money was available, and who got the money first. That's another situation that I'm not saying any of these things are the entirety of why some of these movies did what they did, but it's definitely something that needs to be considered, other than just the same old, well, Marvel is dead and all this stuff. Nah, there are some circumstances that are going to affect all these movies going forward, to a certain degree. So yeah, you got to look at all of that, and we're not willing to do that, though. We just want to have these standardized conversations. I even hear some of the people, I heard a camp the other day that why we shouldn't consider inflation. I'm like, are you serious? You can't really say that. Even if just because you bring in Superman, Christopher Reeves, that would have been like billions and billions or whatever more. That's right. You should be considering that. But when you're talking about, and the only reason I even think it even be brought up is when you're trying to compare box offices, though. That's where I really want to get away from. You're comparing a box office of Man of Steel in 2013 to Superman 2025. You may as well be, comparing movies that were released on two different planets in two different centuries. Because, like I said, the world is not the same. So I think it might be. I don't know. Maybe it's time for all of us, especially me, because I can't. There's no more angles. I don't know if this kind of talk helps. We spent more time talking about things that don't have to do with Superman and Fantastic Four than we do about the content of the movies. We spend more time whenever they want, Superman comes up, we're talking about the war between certain fandoms. We're talking about, we're talking about competing box offices in two different decades and two different eras. We're not talking about what made you feel good about Superman. And even if I don't agree with what made you feel good about Superman, that's usually like number 4 or 5 on the list. What makes me still feel good about Man of Steel? I can go on forever about that. But like I said, I think it was Samir, somebody who was just tagging me, and I told him Superman could make $1 trillion. But if you're going to ask me the question of what to me is the standard bearer of Superman movies, it's going to be Man of Steel, period. And it has nothing to do with any box office. It's how that movie made me feel and how it connected to me. That's all. Now, like I said, I do like hearing about how Superman 2025 connected to people on certain levels. That's cool. That's what it's about. But then it all usually devolves into shit that has nothing to do with the movie. That's why we banned the topic for so long. All right. I want to be careful here because I have a tremendous amount of respect for John Campea. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for Robert Ryan Burnett. And these are just differing opinions. I have differed with John Campea's opinion on these WB things and DC things for years now. And that hasn't changed today with some of the stuff he said. And I'll leave it at that. He's got an opinion. He's got an informed opinion. He's got the right to it. He's definitely earned the platform to express it. I just don't agree with him when it comes to some of these things. I don't agree with him when he starts talking about Snyder, anything to do with Snyder. I philosophically don't agree with some of the things he said. I don't agree with how he represents what the feelings of some of these movies came out. in hindsight. Respect the hell out of him. I don't agree with him there. So, but as far as him being an extension of WWE, that's a little harsh. I wouldn't go that far. Let's see. The other shit without the trunks would have raised up the field. Yeah, I saw that, Bill. I saw
that too. Yeah, I
liked it.
I am at this point, and I know you're not the biggest fan of New 52, William, but that really is like in modern times, combo wise, introduced like the no trunks suit, and then Man of Steel introduced it cinematically, and then Superman and Lois introduced it TV wise. At this point, I am very much team no trunks.
I am always been team. Listen, I don't need to see you wearing your panties outside your pants. I just don't need to see it. I don't see how that.
I mean,
but that's how Superman is supposed to be. And I'm like, yeah.
It doesn't ruin it for you by any means. But
no, that wasn't what. Like I said, there were other aspects of that costume that I absolutely hate. But the trunks thing, that's the least thing. Batman, I don't want to see Batman in the trunks.
Oh yeah. Well, Batman, I'm consistently team no trunks.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I saw that. No, I got what you meant, Ray. I'm the king of typos. So I can actually typos is a language I can read sometimes. All right, so we're gonna talk about bigger issues that happen.
Aaron's same with me. The dinosaurs having and I loved Rebirth.
And what if you have limited amount of money, right? What if you went all in for Jurassic World Rebirth? You bought the bucket. You bought that big footprint bucket, which is ridiculous, by the way.
And by the way, interesting time because that's also now on PVOD. And that's out of the three of them. That's the one that that's the one that's done the best box office wise. It's probably going to top out around like 850, something like that. Theatrically, but it's again a month, and you're barely a month, and here we are, PVOD.
Yeah, and people are really upset about that shit. How come they don't keep it in the theaters for 1,000 days? But, all right, guys. I mean, this we all agree that there is greed involved here, and that there's money involved here. So somebody point out to me, and this is right. And listen, if you can point out a different point of view, we'll bring it up. But the way I understand it, and stop me if I'm wrong, is once again we know top dollar that the cinema box office they get 35% minimum. Some of them they get more, but most of it roughly around 35%. So when we're talking about the global box office, that flips because the home country gets the lion's share. So when we say a movie's made a certain amount of money, we're really only talking about money that really the studio's not going to get in a lot of cases. They're going to get a number, but they're not getting all of that. And then you talk about, okay, most of these movies are made on borrowed money, like companies like Legendary or the Weinstein Corporation, financiers, but there's still other companies like that. Some of these companies are there's investment companies that make it so that they can happen. Legendary put 75% of the production cost of Dunes, I think 1 and 2. So you're talking about guys like that who put their money forth and they're going to get interest and they're going to get their profit back. So when you're talking about that dollar that we bally about when we're talking about on these shows, you don't realize that there's a bunch of people with knives and forks sitting at a very long table before you get that prime rib. I always describe that table from Batman 89 with Vicky Bell sitting at one end and Michael Keaton sitting at the other end. Right? Yeah. So just imagine that table, right? And Vicky Bell's got your prime rib. And she's going to slide it down to the table to get to you. But there's a whole bunch of other people with knives and forks that are going to tear that prime rib up before the plate stops at your table. Now, you got to pay all these other people out. So you're looking at the box office like, great, the movie was good enough to make an impact. We gave the cinemas their first 2 weeks to make the bulk of the money. But now this other residual money, we want to put it on these platforms, which partially most of us own. We want to get it on our stream. We want to give it to where it starts to benefit us quicker and with a higher yield. I just can't see where it benefits. And somebody tell me if I'm wrong, where it benefits the people who put the money down to have it sitting out there, eating that 35% and all these other chunks out, that it doesn't benefit them to bring it onto their territory where they can control the revenue a little bit more and get it faster, and then have it benefit the streaming companies, because all but Sony have a streaming company, or a streaming element. So I just I think it's time to either stop talking box office and all these things and streaming, or talk about it and have all the stuff out there, even the stuff we don't know, have better guesses. I mean,
I'm over the lies too, man. I enjoying the film and being excited about the universe is one thing, but try to convince fans that it's a financial sex. Yeah, I mean, like I said, a lot of people's it's going to depend on what you think success is too. Like for me, given what DC has just like I said, they've basically shit on in their own pants since 2013, meddling and undercutting everything. You know, the fact that they've hurt Superman's viability
far more so for 2017. I would say as well.
Yeah, 2017 and above. If you could make the argument that James Gunn wouldn't even be in his position had they not, screwed up their major IPs. So that's a big boulder to move. So success, like I said, that's another thing is do we as fans even know what success is when it comes to these movies? Because in order to know what somebody's success is, you need to know what the goals were, and sometimes we'll never know that. Nobody believed when WB said, you know what, 500, we're good. Nobody believed him. But we are not inside of their offices. Like I said, I've been saying for a year and a half now. What type of meeting did David Zaslav have with the money people? Did he have a CinemaCon where the box offices are coming back and they're going to take over everything conversation? Or did he have an honest conversation and say, hey, this thing has been dragged through the mud. We got to clean the mud off first before we can get going.
We still don't even know. I mean, the jury's still out on like what the, what that conversation was, and I don't. I think you were gonna say like it sounded like you were gonna say like you're leaning towards he had the former or the latter.
Had the former because there wasn't a lot of panic when it was hovering around 450. There wasn't a lot of panic, and like I said, he did something that the previous clowns did not do. He came out and he backed. If a studio an executive CEO would have came out and backed Zack Snyder after BBS, we'd be in a different world right now. All right, I ain't saying he can't do outside his style, just what I've seen. That's what I mean. And that's doesn't mean that somebody can do. If you want to judge James Gunn based on what you've seen overall, that's one thing. But if you're judging his potential to do other things or kind of shoehorning him into everything you see is, even if it's not the case, that's a little bit different. You're allowed to do that as a fan. I just don't think you're getting the most out of your entertainment when you're doing it, though. Oh my God, Fourth. If you give James Gunn or if you give Gunn the script to Interstellar, he would turn it into James Gunn Interstellar. No, that's not fair to base that on. That, like I said, somebody gave Jonathan Demme the script to Silence of the Lamb, and he did not give me Married to the Mob. I don't agree there. No, this is your place to come speak your mind. This is nobody's parade. That's what I mean. Your opinion is as welcome and valid here as possible as anybody else's. If you want to give your dissent about us about this universe, this is what it is for.
And actually, to Belle's point, I'd like because I think one thing she's getting at, and I'm kind of feeling a little bit what she's feeling myself is because now that we're heading into weekend 5 for Superman, and like I'm still seeing projections that it's going to the range it's going to land in now is like 640 to it's at like 551 right now, and I'm seeing projections like okay, the final tally is going to be like 640 680. Like you can't be serious.
But it's coming from people. I can't. I'm gonna. Sorry, I muted that on my thing, by the way, because I just it's coming from people, and I'm like, I just muted it.
Straight face tell me that it's got that kind of business left. If we were at weekend 2, that'd be one thing, but at this phase.
Yeah, we'll go back to school. There's a lot of things that don't have anything to do with the quality of the movie. People think you're attacking the quality of the movie when you're thinking that, you know what, this is what happens at the time. Bell, no, don't do that. Comment. I'm responding to Fourth's comments. I don't agree with Fourth has to say. No, comment. I don't want that.
Aaron's
I don't want to be. I have really worked hard I don't want to create an environment where you don't think you can say anything. I'm responding to you guys. There's only some people that I'm skipping over. You guys know who you are, but for the most part, I've gotten a couple of fourths. I've got a couple of yards. No, don't listen. This is not kumbaya, guys. Don't. I know other channels make it to where you just don't want to say something because you think the majority of the chat or whatever is against you, and you're thinking, no, the majority of the fucking chat's against me. I ain't gonna stop talking. Fuck them.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think probably it's. I think it'll probably, like with where it's at now, I think best case scenario will probably end like 585, maybe 590.
It exceeded mine. 500 was where I thought it would land at, and like I said,
but this is not hitting 680, and anyone telling you that, it's like
I wouldn't say it's impossible. I would say it's improbable given the fact, okay, let's just take Superman out of it. I think all these movies are going to take a hit because you're losing a big part of the revenue that came in over the summer is that weekday traffic. That Tuesday,
exactly.
Wednesday, Thursday traffic.
And then
when
you add
school starts.
And then you add it's already been out a month.
Yeah, and you start at school. Backpacks are expensive. Shoes are expensive. Clothes are expensive. Physicals are expensive. There's all kinds of stuff that, that the average household has to prioritize now. That's why I'm like, damn, maybe Fantastic Four shouldn't be worrying about, or I don't think they were worried about anything going on in July. Where in July is where they should have been. Like, if they couldn't get one of the first two slots, maybe move it to a different vacation.
Maybe November would have been good for it, yeah.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, because people were thinking, well, it should move because of Superman address, right? I'm like, nah, because now I'm thinking it should have moved, not because of that, is because
the school year just starts earlier and earlier on these kids. Like,
it's this week these guys are starting.
I know, it's like with the kids in the dojo. I mean, it's like either like the students or like some of the younger assistant coaches. Like I remember asking them throughout the last couple weeks, like, so when does your summer break start, or when does it end? And they say, yeah, it's going to be ending, the week of August 4th. I'm like, you gotta be
over,
kidding.
Man. Vegas, it's over. So,
man, when I was that age, I mean, summer usually ended about like third weekend, or like we go back to school like it might be like a half week of the third week of August. It would be late August though at the earliest.
When I was a kid, it was on my birthday. It was always on my birthday. It was either on Labor Day, the day after Labor Day, so it would be the Tuesday. So my birthday is September 7th.
I hear this, like, what are they doing with these kids these days? They're just sucking more of their lives into the school now.
Yeah, I always look forward to my birthday when I was a kid, but then I'm like, fucking school starts right then and there. So yeah, we didn't go back to school until the first week of September. So yeah, but now it's August, and that changes everything. I haven't heard a lot of people, I haven't heard anybody bring that up, but maybe I'm bringing it up because it hurt me this week. A lot of my regular customers either were not able to come in because of that, and they stated that because I asked. And then some of them came in, but their amount that they were spending was truncated because that money had to go to their priority stuff, the kids and everything else. So, and I understand that. So, but it just totally slipped my mind because I've been distracted lately. And I'm like, dude, why is the traffic so bad? And then I talked to some of my other small business buddies, and any of us that are non-essential, we're not getting hit up. So it was like, okay. Then I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. This makes sense that if they're not coming to get their geek stuff here,
box office. Yeah.
So maybe should have moved it there. And like I said, none of these things are the entirety of it, but I think this is something that should be considered. Maybe.
Yeah, it's kind of like Death by a Thousand Cuts. No.
Okay, I think compared to the low box office from other comic movies lately, this one stands out as the best in a largely mediocre lineup. Personally, like I said, money. If you take money wise, I really can't. Overstate how much I love Thunderbolts, and I didn't know if I would. I thought when I heard about Thunderbolts and the concept, I'm like, this is stupid. And I'm like, and I saw it, I'm like, wow, yeah, best performing, not quality. Good, yeah, good point.
So talk about your business buddies now. So you guys at this point, you just got your site set up for like Black Friday now, right?
Well, we got our sites. When you have a small business that's a luxury, which is mine is, you set your sites on the weekends. You really, your expectations for the weekdays are on a certain demographic. But when the family dynamic, for me, when it's tourists, a lot of the tourists are done right now. A lot of the family tourists are done. Now I still have the business tourists. That's a different demographic. It's a different type of merchandise. We still get the families in because people from all over the world, they do different things in different times of the year. Like, I mean, I've had Australians come in because over the summer it's freezing cold there, so they spend a lot of time here in the desert. So, but like I said, we have some political things that have hurt us a little bit when it comes to Vegas, And as far as my Canadians, listen, I miss you. All right, Canadians. I know South Park makes fun of you. I know I may or may not have put a curse on your country after the 1993 Stanley Cup Finals when I thought the Montreal Canadiens ripped off my LA Kings and it broke my heart. I know there's some political things right now that are happening that where you might not feel, welcome here, the 51st state, things like that. But I want you to know, we're good. I miss you guys. I mean, built a hockey team out here, and that gave you guys are already coming out here and saying, hey, and what's up, all the Canucks. You guys are already coming out here. But when we got the Las Vegas Golden, or we got the Vegas Golden Knights, you guys increased. You came out here. Now you had some reason to come out here to see your Flames, to see your Oilers, to see your the Senators, to see any of your teams come out here. You're coming out here in droves, man. You're coming out here for the wrestling events, coming out here for EDC, Canadians. I miss you. It's safe to come home. It's safe to come back to the desert. All right. William misses you. Even if somebody else doesn't, your Geek Daddy misses you. My wallet misses you. Come home.
Blame Canada.
No, come home, Canada. Come visit your fellow North Americans. We're still family. And my Germans, damn. I have a Romanian guy too. I have a Romanian guy who comes every 6 months. And when I saw him the other day, I was so happy. I'm like, dude, I didn't think you were, I got a person that comes from Czechoslovakia. Him and his family come from Czechoslovakia, and they go up to they do a lot of hiking here. Haven't seen him in a while. And I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, so it's kind of a hassle right now. And I'm like, all right. So I need things to get back to normal, man. Need to see I need my foreigners back. Like, let's see. They defined their own box. We didn't define. Well, no, you're defining their potential, though, is what I'm more of what I'm saying more than anything. It sounds like you're putting a cap on what James Gunn could or couldn't do, and I don't think that's something we should do. And to be honest with you, I think there's less levels of certain directors that put out movies, and people, like I said, they just can't see beyond what they think that director is sometimes, and I think that's kind of unfortunate. I hope that they use Alex Ross's stuff as a template because it's epic. Alex Ross is one of the few guys, when you see his work, it's an event. Even if it's just a cover, even if it's just an Alex Ross cover, that's an event. That's a special variant. That's a special issue. So yeah, he just has an ability. When you see his stuff, like when you saw, he posted the other day, he had Spider-Man, and he had his Spider-Man, and he had the new Spider-Man costume. That shit like that just gets me going, man. Shit like that just keeps me going. Hello, Axel. Have you been here the whole time? Yeah, Deadpool Wolverine, I think a lot of people use that to say, well, hey, comic book movies are back. I'm like, there are some circumstances when it comes to that movie that just hit, man. That just hit me, and I'm not a fan of Deadpool at all. And it hit for me, so. More people were talking about Joker. Well, Joker was on a Deadpool and Wolverine is a niche audience amongst us comic book movie fans. Joker is a pop culture icon. So,
I think, he definitely was the inverse commercially for them last year. But I think also kind of like what you talk about, like, nostalgia being like with like a bomb. It's like, you cut this wire, you defuse the bomb, you cut this wire, you blow it up. It's like, I think Deadpool and Wolverine is one that really kind of threaded that needle really well as far as, employing nostalgia to its advantage and and reaping pretty great rewards from it. I think Deadpool and Wolverine's pretty stellar case of like doing that.
It's a perfect bomb. It's the perfect bomb, and it's the perfect escape. It hit on ways that you can't ever expect that. I don't even expect another Deadpool movie to be able to do that. That was just the right movie at the right time with the right, nostalgia. So where's James Gunn Titanic?
I'm right back.
Yeah. His Joker, I'm not saying he could never switch up, but his track record. But you got to eliminate the track record as far as saying somebody can't do something of them, or otherwise, like I said, the directors you just mentioned, their track records indicate that they could never do that movie. Says he couldn't, doesn't care to. I don't think that's the case either. So asking about a hypothetical Kingdom Come, I don't put him on. Did you finish the roster? I think he could. Well, granted, is he the top of my list to do a Kingdom Come? No. Give me a Matt Reeves. Give me Denis Villeneuve. There's a couple other people. Give me a Matt Shaby. There's a couple other people that I think would be more in tune. But at the same time, I would not take James Gunn out of the possibility solely because he has not demonstrated that. A lot of people have not had the chance or opportunity or the calling to do so. We don't know what James Gunn might pull out of his ass after Superman. We don't know that. So, I mean, like I said, I just think it's I've learned, in my opinion, to not limit something on that type of face value because, like I said, it ends up, you end up being shocked. So. You could. Let's see. Brad, you were smart to skip SDC. Another win for the center. Yeah. I'm just not feeling that. After 2024 Comic-Con, I was still on a high, man. I was still on a high. That high for me this year was gone mostly on Saturday and came back up when I got to interview Robert Meyer Burnett, which was still, that might be about one of the highlights of my year, not just Comic-Con, but my year. To sit down with somebody of that level and of that professionalism with that resume and have him give me an hour of his time in that environment in the middle of Comic-Con chaos was really special. I don't know if it shows when I'm doing the interview, but I'm really fucking happy to be there doing that interview. And I watched that interview a couple times since we've aired it, and I really, every time I watch that, I feel better about Comic-Con 2025 because it was a mediocre con this year. Sorry. Zach can totally do a comedy. Look at Army of the Dead. That's Zach's most fun movie. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to give every director, producer, storyteller the benefit of the doubt that they can tell any story, and I'm not going to just limit it for me just because of what I've seen. A lot of people are not just putting themselves in that box, but that is what the companies that they work for have asked for them to do. That was their job. Direct this. Here's the script. So. Yeah, and Black Panther was close. And then Black Panther Wakanda Forever, a movie I did not like very much. I'm sorry. I love you, Jamie Lee Curtis, but Angela Bassett was the best supporting actor of the year. Sorry. Yeah, I won for best costumes. I won a couple of them for technical stuff, best costumes. Senior nerd, James Gunn style equals money, okay. And when or if Gunn makes his first bomb, it will continue to find success. But James Gunn critics. Here's the thing, senior nerd. I can understand. I kind of understand where people are coming from as far as how they classify them. But what I'm saying is that I don't think he's been successful. He has not made a bomb. He's been one of the very few. The Suicide Squad, but that's a different argument. I like that movie. I actually like. I think it's one of his better movies. But the criticism is genuine. But I think the limitations are the problem. I mean, it's okay not to like his style of movies, or not to prefer his style of movies. But I think that I just think that he's put in this classification that's not necessarily completed yet. But yeah, I mean, if I don't have too much of a problem with James Gunn stuff. So, Atu, the Watcher. Okay. That why you have to stay independent? That's why you have to stay independent like John Sayles Studios. Always limit directors unless you're Kubrick and he's dead. Well, Christopher Nolan. Nobody limits Christopher Nolan. And James Gunn's a studio head, so that would be limiting himself. But I think Christopher Nolan, Steven Spielberg, James Cameron, those are a handful of gentlemen that are just going to do whatever the hell they want. Quentin Tarantino, when he does stuff for major, he does what he wants. So, I'm sorry, Antonio, and this is going to be my bias being too. The Dark Knight should not have been nominated for Best Picture. I argued with a lot of my friends about that. It got nominated for the thing that it needed to get nominated for, and it won for the thing that it got nominated for. In my opinion, Heath Ledger's Joker is the all-time performance. It is, man, I wish he could have lived to reap the benefits of that. Heath Ledger's Joker, to me personally, I know I'm a weirdo. It's the only thing I watch with The Dark Knight. The movie outside of his glow wasn't best movie. No, was not best movie. Sorry, just wasn't. That's just my opinion. All film is subjective, though. Black Panther. That's why the Oscars nominated Black Panther. Nah, they nominated Black Panther because it was a better movie. Black Panther is a better movie than The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight has an all-time performance that outshines everything else that we're talking about. But as far as a complete movie from front to back, Black Panther was a better movie. And like I said, Wakanda Forever, not a good movie. But Angela Bassett, man, that's going to – oh, wow. And like I said, I hate saying that because I love Jamie Lee Curtis. But I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once. I loved her performance in it. But, dude – Angela Bassett carries a lead weight of a movie with a masterful performance, man. All right, award shows that I've well, we're not going to get into the award shows. We don't that shit. Gun critics can't deal with it. Okay, I'm not one of these people, so and we don't really address those guys on the thing because a lot of the times these people who criticize Zack Snyder and James Gunn, they're doing it. They're doing it from a place of disingenuous, in my opinion. It's one thing to have an opinion, but I don't really get into the whole people who are going to criticize James Gunn just for anything before he even does it. And the same one, and I felt the same way about Zack Snyder years ago. I thought it was unfair to do it then. I think it's unfair to do it now. But if you're in that team atmosphere of you're making excuses one way or another, or you're fluffing the numbers one way or another, that's what I think is hurting movie talk. And I definitely think it's hurting comic book movie talk because that has nothing to do with the movie. That has nothing to do with the movie. If Superman would have been the same quality of movie and made $300 million, it would have sucked for them. But that's a conversation that the board of directors have. If I like the movie, I like the movie. Same thing with Thunderbolts. I like Thunderbolts. It didn't make that kind of big money. It did good. But you know what? When I talk about Thunderbolts, the box office is not on my mind. That's a conversation to be had. But to me, it's become the conversation. It has become the conversation. It really takes the air out of it. This whole, coping and James Gunn and the James Gunn is winning thing, and I'm like, he's making a fucking movie. He's a movie maker. He's not a general. He's not a head football coach. This isn't your sports team. You get nothing out of any of these movies doing well, but a good time, and just enjoy that. Oh, Anthony Mazzano and a naughty paragraph. I'm proud of you there, buddy. What are your thoughts about Michael Mann directing an Elseworld Green Arrow movie? My thoughts are positive about Michael Mann directing anything. He doesn't do enough. He takes forever to make movies. He's great, but he doesn't do enough, in my opinion. You look at his IMDb, there's like huge gaps in between great shit. I'm like, God damn it, dude. And he's like 80 something. He's not getting any younger. I would want him, whatever he's going to direct, fucking do it now. Let's see. 170 million Heat movie should not be happening. It should be 100 million. Well, who's in it? You might have some big A-list names in there. Obviously, we can't have Robert De Niro in it. Spoiler alert: it's been 30 years. But and also it's a prequel too. I'm like, I don't like prequels, but if Michael Mann's doing a movie, I gotta go see it, man. I gotta go see it. Daniel Martin, Guardians of the Galaxy, 2014. Was that when it was released? Damn, it's been a long. Was a breath of fresh air to what the MCU was doing at the time. You can see his DNA and everything he's done as well, both MCU and DCU trying to manufacture. You're going to see his DNA and everything he ever does do. But is that such a hold that he can't do something outside of the realm that he's shown you already. If he decides, like I said, he wants to do something completely off the rails that anything he's ever done, yeah, that style and DNA can come with him, but it's going to be like every other example I've given you. You shouldn't, just limit the conversation of, oh, it's just more James Gunn, this or that. And I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, the fact that you have a style, of course, but I think that the way it's been perceived is that style would limit him from doing certain things. Like that's all I'm saying. I don't want James Gunn, if he's going to do a James Gunn movie, I wanted it to be recognizable as a James Gunn movie. But in my opinion, recognizable as James Gunn doesn't mean jokes and needle jobs. There's more to James Gunn's storytelling, and I'm surprised people have limited to that. But there's a lot more, if you're watching these movies, to his storytelling than just that. Those are elements of it, but they are not the binary elements of it. He those things could not be there, and he could still. There are other elements about James Gunn's movies that are there, that are fine. So that's just the way I see it. But Michael, we talking about Michael Bay. Listen, Michael Bay is Michael Bay. He's made a career out of just saying, "This is what I'm going to give you. We're going to blow some shit up. We're going to toss some cars around. Maybe there's going to be some hot chicks. We're gonna have gunfights and giant. This is what we're gonna do." Roman Emmerich's the same way. And you know what? For the most part, they give the people who come to see their movies what they want. I don't necessarily see that either, too, because even in Superman, you see the DNA in a James Gunn movie, but I personally, you guys are on your own here. I personally don't see an overwhelming tone that will be like, oh, I'm sitting, where's Rocket at? I didn't feel that way in the movie, but all film is subjective, so there we go. And Brad Cinema, I'm sorry, dude, but I'm gonna need you to change the name. I'm not telling you to leave. I'm not telling you to leave, but I got a feeling that word coming up is probably fucking up our algorithm. So Brad's E, I'm going to need you to change your name and let me know that you're the artist formerly known as that when you change that name. But I may have to take some steps because I think just the saying of your name, and now we're saying it in serious conversation.
You could say like, maybe change it like Brad's like astonishing good looks, maybe.
Okay, well that's the same thing as an internet, but yeah, now we got people. Now we got people referring to you by that in the chat. That can't be good for our numbers.
Again, that's all because I had to use an at-home one, back in November because
Okay, stop.
It's not. No, we are not. No. Wait, hold on. We are not changing to Brad's colonoscopy. It's not going to be that, guys.
God. Fourth never said anything accurate or unfair about the film. You don't have to have seen a movie to. Where he was coming, I would need a little bit more than just the trailers and word of mouth for what he was saying. Yeah, you're right, Ray. You don't have to critique something. I can tell you I'm not going to see Jurassic Park just based on the trailers. But if I'm going to say Jurassic Park Rebirth was the same as this and the same as that, and I felt that, then I think I would probably want, as somebody on the other end of the conversation, for him to have seen the movie, to have the conversation that me and him were going back and forth. I think it would mean a little bit more if he saw the movie. To critique it and say he doesn't like it, he can make that assessment on the trailer. He could do that. That's fair enough. That's what the trailer's for. That's why the onus of marketing is to do the marketing right. But as far as like the depth of tone and things like that, trailers and stuff like that, word of mouth don't necessarily give you that. So in my opinion, if I'm having a conversation, I think the conversation is enhanced significantly by somebody having mutually seen what I had seen. Let's see. Yeah, once again, I understand what you're saying, but in order for me to really take this to another level with you, it's really hard because I'm referencing things I've seen, and for us to have a common conversation about something and have that understanding, I think it would be better if you had seen the movie because there's certain elements about the movie, certain momentum that when you're in movie watching these things that I think are very relevant to the point, He didn't write his first Guardian movies, book issues. Yeah, each of these guys are all distinctive, and they all will end up probably doing things that are outside of their circle. They may fail at them, but I don't want them. Be honest with you, that sucks if that failure is because people have limited and say, "Oh, I would never go see that," or "You can't do that." No. I mean, these guys are at a certain tier to where you see everything in a different way than a guy like me would. Let's see. Okay, so some of these. Okay, see, this is where I would really want you to see the movie. And even if you came to this point after you saw the movie, then it's a little bit easier for me to take. But I hear Superman was made to relate to how weak today's men feel in their lives. That's an opinion. But if we were going to have an advanced discussion, I would like to see how your opinion will be shaped after you saw the movie, because that would interest me to be like, would you still feel that way if you saw the movie? That's why they made him weaker and whiny, man, childish. I see what I mean. This is the kind of stuff that it's really hard for me to have this conversation when I've seen the movie, and I'm going to when I conversed with you about this, I'm going to have that as its basis, the movie itself, not I heard or whatever. I mean, if you don't want to go see it, that's fine. But I'm in here to have a conversation, and it's really hard for me to have a balanced conversation because I feel like I have a sort of an advantage because I've seen the movie. All right, let's see. Fifth. I mean, you know what? That's interesting. That would be interesting. And you know what? A Batman, that would be kind of cool. Listen, Spider-Man Noir takes place in the 30s. That would be interesting if he would have done that. I wonder how that would have been accepted. All right, let me get down.
Yeah, that'd be like Superman in the 30s or like Batman in the 60s. We have like what have we seen that's done like a period set? Like Captain America First Avenger did, and both Wonder Woman's did. What else is like superhero wise that's done like DC or Marvel done the period setting? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot have gone there. Watchmen, in the 80s. Not a whole lot have done that. That'd really be that'd be cool. Is like that, and I guess I from a certain angle, I guess you could say the Flash does. That'd be kind of cool as like a novelty. I give it a novelty as like we're doing like a period. I mean, one iteration of the Blade movie that Marvel's trying and failing to make. As we saw with Sinners, I mean, they were thinking about doing in the 30s.
Yeah, that's a tough era for Black folks to sit through and watch that shit in Delta, Mississippi, because historically what happened. But they made that movie so much more than that, though. I really love that movie.
What would you say would like be like a good one? I mean, you do like in a period setting.
You could do Wonder Woman. Well, they did Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So they just did it in World War One instead of World War II.
Yeah, well, both ones like World War One and then the 80s, and well, I'm not
80s.
Merits aside, I'm just saying it was in the 80s. What else is it? I mean, Jonah Hex was kind of baked into Jonah Hex. We did a watch party for this too. It's like one of my favorite DC anime movies, and like as far as like an Elseworld story is Justice League New Frontier, because that's during the Cold War.
Oh yeah, that's not well. Is that designated? I don't think they designated that as an Elseworld story.
Well,
I mean, technically, anything that's not mainline.
That's
but I don't think it has a logo.
Yeah,
that's another one of those books that I have in front that because I can hand that to somebody, and that gives them the basic understanding of the characters, and they can go off and collect the ones that they want to or don't want to. So I love Justice League Frontiers. I have now they have the compact books too now that are available. And people should pick those up if they're going in.
I think maybe it was done this way at the time, but you can kind of look at Batman, the Tim Burton Batman in '89. You can look at it maybe as as a period movie because it's clearly in the 80s.
Yeah, and like I said, Bill, I completely understand where you're coming from, and that's why I say when it comes to box office, it's probably best if we just don't, we don't delve into it as much as we have, because it just, there are too many elements on either end of it that people just aren't willing to put in. Like, okay, you could say, if you don't, just people who don't want to use the inflation reason. I don't understand how you could come to that conclusion, because you're talking about $1.38 versus $1. That's a lot. That's many, many millions.
But I mean, again, it's invoked. I mean, the people who don't want to bring it up because I mean they don't. People who don't want to bring that up don't want to bring it up because they don't want the wrong Superman movie to come out in the lead.
Yeah. So when you're talking about that, and then you also, when you're saying success, box office success, I can't, call Superman a bust given where we were at just 2 or 3 years ago when Superman was in witness protection program and the brand was being damaged. So I that's what I'm saying. If I think that I can do it in this show, at least, is start to move our boat away from box office, because I don't think it brings anything to the actual conversation. It dominates the conversations in ways that these make-believe characters can't be. We can't really talk about the aspects that, that's why it's so much. It's almost fun, more fun talking about TV shows sometimes, because those ratings are so skewed and lied about. Nobody knows. It comes down to the point where you're live watching it, and it is what it is.
And when was the last time you heard anybody debate it? I guess you hear it a little bit more now with like streaming numbers, but as far as like Nielsen broadcast ratings, nobody cares about those.
Yeah. Oh, I'm way late on these. I'm going to skip to the end, guys, because you guys are saying bless you, and I haven't sneezed in quite a minute. We're talking about the trunks. Let's see. Why does it assume that Marvel's going to panic like previous administration DC? I don't know, because they never have. They never have. They got their guy. Kevin Feige's safe. Kevin Feige will be at Marvel Studios until Kevin Feige wants to leave. So there's no job security issues there. I don't know where, where they've made adjustments, and that's what you're supposed to do. When things don't go the way you plan them to go, you make adjustments. You don't blow things up. And like I said, they forget that, when like I said, we had this conversation with the whole Kang thing. We have a guy who, when he is in firm control of his company now for the last two years since the whole Chapek situation, does what he wants, when he wants, how he wants. That's it. If something happens, it's because Kevin Feige wanted it to happen. If something changed, it's because he looked at it and changed it. The fact that people thought that he had to give some subversive reason for why he switched from Kang to Doctor Doom. Did you not see this man's resume? Does it look like he's running Marvel Studios with our brains? No. So now, if a movie doesn't do, buku dollars over thing, now Kevin Feige is supposed to become Kevin Ichihara and start switching shit up to get a bonus? No. It's never been the case. And I don't know why people think that Marvel is DC from 2017 to 2022. It's just not. So yeah, I don't have a good answer for you, Anthony. I stand with Bell. Okay. Well, this is way down. So do I. I stand with all you guys. Okay, or we're not. Well, what are you talking about? We're not putting in something in the chat that the Sci-Fi Center Presents doesn't love Bell. Or is that what's going on? Oh no, I get what you mean. Like I said, but don't feel that you can't come out and say something because of the majority or minority, whatever you may be in. Doesn't matter. That's not this kind of channel. So, all right. Kids started school in the middle of the week. Yeah, they started today. It's a Wednesday with no holiday to make that happen. I know when Labor Day, wherever Labor Day was, we started the school day right after. But that was when I was a kid. But yeah, man, it's damn kids. Hello, Paul. How are you doing? Let's see. Ray, Paul Antonio. You haven't been to Canada yet? You travel.
I'm in Canada. My
I've
dad,
been-
he's
yeah,
my
been to
dad
Canada.
because his whole side of the family, they grew up. He's from Detroit, so I mean that's not a, not a big trek. Been to Canada many times. Ain't made there yet though.
Believe it or not, I've seen that particular human interest movie. John Cusack with the boom box outside of her house with playing Peter Gabriel, the great Peter Gabriel song. Yeah, Canada, come home. I know it doesn't look good. I know, I understand, but I need you. Come home. Let's see who's. Okay, you guys are having your own conversation. Superman came off very petulant, a lot more in common with Lex, and that's a criticism I do have about this Superman. I did not feel Lex. I did not feel that performance rose to the level of the performer playing him. That's just my opinion. Every time I say that, people are like Lex was great, and then every time I say that, I didn't like this particular Lex, how he was portrayed in this movie by this actor, who I thought was Nicholas Hoult was a great actor. The very next words out of people know he's better than Jesse. That did I fucking say that? Were we talking about that? And I'm like, stop it. That's where I like. It's time to get out of this conversation. My one thought of Gunn's intention with the Superman arc based on the S logo he chose, the color palette in bright yellow and red is not yet black and red. Yeah, this could be the beginnings. You're right, and I hope this is not the case because the magic of Kingdom Come, the mythology of Kingdom Come is that you don't see that. And when they started making the prequels to that and Thy Kingdom Come and then Infinite Crisis and it filled in things that I thought were just a mistake that I didn't need to see. But you know what? Success breeds more success, though. Okay, Daniel, the movie felt meddled. Yeah, the movie was definitely like I said, when people ask me what I meant when I said safe and basic, this movie was basically everything that you thought Superman should be in the periphery if you weren't really detailed on Superman. If you were just a general audience and you have this basic view of what Superman is, not necessarily a detailed geek view, this is the movie that was made for you. They'll consolidate you down the line, I guess, is what they meant to do. Well, you and Brad, yeah, easily.
Well, you know what? I bet Rob's a big fan of the Raid. Just saying. I bet he's looking forward to Furious.
I bet you he doesn't even know anything about that.
Oh,
I'm being serious.
Next time we get him on the show. I'm asking that question.
You should have had me ask him then. I would have done it. The Robert Barbara interview was worth it. Charles William. That's one of the memory. But yeah, it was. And like I said, it was what I needed because that con was like that con. I just wasn't feeling that con, and that was the last day of San Diego Comic-Con. And I had really worked hard to track this man down for 2 years, 2 Comic-Cons in a row, and we finally got it down. And the conversation we had, I just really, really am proud of that conversation we had because it wasn't just a conversation of things I had to ask. As somebody who's been listening to some of the questions and some of the tones and some of the things that we've discussed here, I was doing my best to ask the kind of questions that you guys would want to hear from him without necessarily doing a live stream. So I tried to hit on, I didn't know if I was ever going to get an opportunity, but I tried to hit on the things that I think that, we as a Sci-Fi Center Presents group would talk about here and want to hear from him. So I really think that interview turned out well. Oh my God. We talked off camera about him and him because we differ on Star Trek. We are on 2 separate ends of the spectrum. And we talked about that there. He actually joked about it at the beginning of the interview when I told him, I think you're on the wrong end of Star Trek. He's like, interview's over. But yeah, he is my fellow generation extra Robert Marbinet is not a fan of New Trek, and I am. We both came up through the same, type of Trek. Our fathers handed it to us. We inherited it. We were second generation Trek people. you know, we've seen all the same movies and we like a lot of the same stuff. But when it comes to new Trek, man, Robert Meyer Burnett can load him up. Nobody's safe, and he doesn't hold back.
Got another associate of the show. Yeah, how's it going, RJ? I didn't think Superman would end up being the tentative highest grossing CBN of the year. I don't know if that speaks to the fact that this year has been such a wash or Superman did much better than anyone. I think it's kind of both.
I think it's both. I think
yeah.
And when it was released, it got released. Like I said, I'm not making excuses for Fantastic Four. I don't give a fuck if Fantastic Four makes another $1. I love that movie. I think that, and it's only because I can relate to getting kicked in both NADs this weekend with the sales and the reason why customers going to sales. I'm like, if my little shoebox hut is reflecting that, then it's got to be reflective on a much larger level when it comes to non-essential retail. And plus the I didn't realize this would be an issue. Like I said, if that number is true about as a family, one trip to the movies per month,
and then by the time Fantastic Four comes out, most families have probably already made that choice.
Yeah, that choice is happening because it's there.
And you're either going to go to the dinosaur, Jurassic World or Superman, yeah.
And now, not only that, you're going into the back to school. I really thought Fantastic Four would be.
Well, again, it's like, I mean, you know, road ain't over. I mean, the story ain't over yet, but I mean, it's like but again, I don't know. It's like I'm still kind of like not quite sure how to tackle like the Fantastic Four performance. Like where
there's a lot to do with it, and like I said, none of it has to do with the movie. None of it has to do with the movie. That's the sad part.
I think a badly saved back school time. You're saying that something you guys brought up, the fact that it was last movie to release in July. So families like smelling. Yeah, again, with if that stat is accurate that William is referring to, and most families, it's, you know, one movie in theaters a month, and you know, again, he had 3 big releases a month between Jurassic World, Superman, and Fantastic Four. Well, Fantastic Four came at the tail end of that, so most of probably 90% of the families chose either Jurassic World or Superman.
First half of July is the height of the summer traveling season, as far as I know, especially at least for Vegas. The last half during the modern era of school starting is not. Because like I said, when I was in Comic-Con, those kids were partying and I was like, why is this like, what is this, Mardi Gras? No, this is their last weekend before they start heading back to school because school starts the very next week for them. So I'm like, yeah, that's a big deal. So there's a couple of different reasons. I don't think there's any one factor, but I think the movie that needed to, you know, is going to be okay as far as reference goes. It's going to be a Fantastic Four didn't need to be, because you knew what we're heading into with Doomsday. Fantastic. One thing I will say, and I said this last night, I said this the night before. I'm sorry if Robert Downey Jr. is in that hood and that cloak and with that mask, he's got to turn to the camera and say, "Hey, what's up?" Furthermore, if he's in London with you, if he's on the set with you while you were filming this movie, I'm sorry, he's got to be in the movie, man. I was certain that he was going to be in that movie, and there were spots where he could have fit in just fine. If you put Robert Downey Jr., I'm not saying it solves all the thing because it's still the money woes, it's still the third movie, it's still back to school, but maybe a little bit more. Robert Downey Jr., there's a reason why you paid him like all the money in the world, because you know he can draw. If RDJ is in that movie and I hear about that, I think that might change the outcome a little bit. I don't know why, but then again, you know what? They're like, we don't need to blow our wad now. A $400-500 million Fantastic Four movie. Wait till we throw Fantastic Four 2 out there after we've been through all this. Then what? So yeah, it's a weird one.
Ooh, I was not aware of this. The Russo, I did not know that they were the ones that actually filmed the cameo. And again, like I said, I totally agree with Wayne. It's like it would have been so cool. I think it was so cool if he turns around and basically just recreate the Comic-Con reveal. It's like you just hood, mask. Here I am.
Well, that would have been silly, but just him turning around and looking towards the camera and saying, "Bam." So-and-so will be in Doomsday. Dr. Doom be in Doomsday. That alone would have been like another jolt of excitement. But me, I'm sorry, Russo's and everybody, Matt Chafin, you put him on the plane with the rest of the crew, that motherfucker is going to act. He's not, there's no empty chair in the Latveria on the United Nations. RDJ is sitting there looking like RDJ. And even if he's not Doctor Doom in the movie, he's Victor. He's somebody. He's in the movie. Robert Mount Johnny. I don't think people understand when it comes to Marvel, Doolittle, all that kind of shit, you know. But when it comes to Marvel movies, that is Elvis to them. RDJ, Chris Evans, and Hemsworth to a certain extent are like they're like the 3 of the 4 Beatles. They alone are draws. So I don't understand that. Yeah, she's been robbed. What's love got to do with it? She got robbed there. But in this movie right here, when I'm watching Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, trying to endure that movie because it's a funeral, her performance was stunning. I don't know if that's the way it would have been if a Black Panther would have been there, but I think that her performance in Wakanda Forever even stronger because he's not. So yeah. All right, let's see. Let's go down here. Wow, that's a hot take, William. Black Panther, The Dark Knight. That's not a hot take. Not my opinion. No. Black Panther's an Academy Award nominated movie, and it deserved to be. It's a better movie than The Dark Knight. That, in my opinion. Let's preface it. In my opinion, it's Black Panther is a far superior movie than The Dark Knight. I don't care if you guys want to shit on me. That's fine. The movies are subjective, and that's my opinion. The Dark Knight had one of the greatest performances of all time. That was better than anything in both movies. But as a better overall balanced, engaging movie, in my opinion, Black Panther was the better movie. Dark Knight had the better performance from one in particular individual, but no, under no circumstances, in my opinion, is Black Panther better than the Dark? I can watch the Black Panther. I can only watch Heath Ledger in those movies. And to be honest with you, out of that trilogy, Heath Ledger is what I watch out of all 3 of them. So he makes up for all 3 of them. No. I will stand on that. I my opinion, Black Panther is better than The Dark Knight. I can feel the hate coming in the comments. Bring it. Let's see. I want Gunn to stop directing simply because you're the studio head now. I mean, I'm not saying he can't direct,
well, even
but you're the
I
studio
saw he was
head.
saying I saw Campia saying that bit the other day too. It's like, okay, now you got your Superman movie out. Now it's kind of like, okay, now step back and oversee the studio at this point.
Yeah, because it's going to be a lot as these movies
and it can't be like, I mean,
that
can't be easy. Like because thinking about that a couple of times where it's like, okay, you're a studio co-head. And you got a second season of a TV show you're doing, and you got a Superman movie you're making. It's like,
oh, fuck you guys.
I mean, the dude just must be like drinking down like energy drinks like there's no tomorrow.
He just turned 59 too today.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, James. Antonio, you're right. The Benadryl is having a side of it. No, I'm Benadryl free tonight. I don't think that, and I don't think I'm going to be alone. I may be in a minority, but like I said, it's not a scorecard. I think the Black Panther is better. It's a better overall movie than. I don't even think it's close for me, because I think the Dark Knight drags when Heath Ledger's not on my screen. I'm looking for shit to do. Adam Driver's in Heat too, and I think he's playing. He's playing. I forgot who he's playing. I know he's playing one of the main two. Okay, sure enough. What's up, man? Black Panther: Wakanda Forever felt better than the Black Panther top movie. Okay, now you guys are just messing with me. I understand. That's fine. Mark, they gave me a lot of fun. They gave me a lot of fun at the movies. I cannot deny that.
Roland Emmerich, I mean, the way I describe it, because he's the king of disaster movies, and when very sci-fi oriented, but him, I always say just remember, guys, it's light on the science, heavy on the fiction.
Let's see. Yeah, it's just blowing stuff up. Brad's going to start getting commercials when I'm feeling backed up. I take Sensei. Oh, no.
That's disgusting, man. Come on. All of this because this is where the
and I wasn't even on the screen, by the way, when you did this. So that's why I'm like, what the fuck is happening here?
I was on I was on the screen. It was like your pants made like the cameo appearance. Now they're in our chat all the time.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Brad's E. I can't. We're gonna have to change your name.
Well, you are not changing it to Brad's colonoscopy though.
Yes, that costume is amazing, and that seeing this costume in daylight is beautiful. I love that blue. I love that they kept the rims on the eye patches the same.
One thing I'm curious about is J.K. Simmons coming back as J. Jonah Jameson in it?
I don't know.
Because I don't think they've said anything either way with that. Because he was a pretty big factor.
It's practical too. There's a lot of him swinging around on wires and
it's
shit.
Be interesting, yeah. But yeah, he was a pretty big factor. Alex Jonah Jameson, as I call him, because he's clearly based on Alex Jones in No Way Home. So we're gonna see Alex Jonah Jameson again.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
That was Far From Home. Far From Home had. I'm telling you, that had to be one of the top 5 end credit scenes of all time. Was the Far From Home end credit scene, because it was
when he sees himself on the screen.
Well, because it was like 3 big twists in one. Like first, it's okay, here's J. Jonah Jameson, and then it's J.K. Simmons playing him, and now we're gonna it's Spidey's being framed from killing Mysterio, and now everybody knows who Spidey is. It's that was
well, now that's all undone now, obviously. But it's
but at the time, it's
he's gonna go working. Yeah, he's gonna go working for him.
But yeah, but I remember going into Far From Home, in the week or so leading up to it, everybody, a lot of the commentary from the early reactions, people were saying if there's one end credit scene you need to stay around for, it's this one, and sure enough.
Yes, we spoke about this earlier in the show. Forth, I respect the hell out of John Campea. I watch the show on a daily basis. I don't agree with him here. I don't agree with. I don't think there's any conversation where you can't you're talking real math and you're comparing. Now, if you're not comparing, then we're fine. He's right there, and he had a point there. But if you're going to have this conversation and lead off your shows and say, "Well, Superman is now the highest grossing this or that," then I don't believe that you can have that conversation without that reality there. I don't see how people can have that, and I disagree with him. And like I said, respect the hell out of John Campea. I watch him on a daily. Him and obviously his sidekick we just interviewed, not sidekick, but his partner there on his show, Robert Meyer. I don't disagree with a lot of what he says, but I can respect where he's coming from. I just don't agree with it. That's just going to be where I'm at with that one. All right.
Well, I think we kind of
covered. I don't believe William anymore. I think he's watched all kinds of movies. He's only second person I know to watch the majority of Astronom and Rabunus William. He went deep. Yeah, I watched it. Listen, I told you guys before 2008, I think it was, I used to watch all of them. I used to watch all Oscar movies. Me and my sister and my dad, we used to watch. I mean, I'm doing more watching than they are. Evidently.
I was just about to say that.
But no, I saw Nora. I didn't love Nora. It's not my type of movie. It's human interest, romance, and shit like that. But I wanted to see her performance and see, you know what. And I saw that performance, and I thought Demi Moore was better. But I didn't want to get, well, Demi Moore was better, and no, because I saw all the best supporting actress ones when Angela Bassett I think should have won. And so I really, if I'm gonna make that type of assertion, I really will go out and see the movies, because it's just, you know, I don't like speaking from that kind of position, you know. So but I'm pretty sure, you know, people, there has to be more people that saw these movies, you know, that saw these movies besides me. I can't be. I am your least likely candidate, but at the same time, I was interested in seeing, you know. All right, really appreciate you. Hold on, we're about to wrap it up. I know Brad's starting to doze.
Yeah,
I really appreciate this. Yeah, we are. I just want to get these last two. I really appreciate this channel and pushing. Not pushing a super chat. I'm not spending money on things not important to my survival. Hey, although Comic-Con and my hot dogs were important to survival, but you know what? Nah, once we were done Friday, we're not, you know, you super, if you can afford to super chat, great. If you can't, if you're just watching the show, that's fine. I didn't think Superman would end up being a tentative high grossing movie this year. Okay, you answered that one. So yeah, I think, and I hate that, you know, it wasn't the best year, but it still has some good stuff in it. I will be checking out Wednesday later on this afternoon. All right, adjusted for inflation. Okay, but here's the thing, though. You can make you're exactly right. But for the comparisons that were being made, if you're just having a flat general conversation, you're right. You're both right, and Campio was right. But when you're leading off your shows and you're putting these headlines out there, making the comparison, then if you're going to make that comparison, in my opinion, you have to add that context. Otherwise, how can I take that seriously? You know what I mean? If we're just, because we can go all the way back to Christopher Reeve Superman, who outgrossed all of them combined, right? But we're not making the comparison. Every comparison I saw and every headline I saw was about Man of Steel. So that's fine. But if you're going to do that, then you have to adjust for the unit sold and all those things. Otherwise, I don't understand why I would even go any further. You know, and like I said, you're right. Every box office analyst, we shouldn't even be having that conversation, to be honest with you. But for some reason, we had to start comparing the box offices of the last two Superman movies. If you stop doing that, then that makes it pointless. You don't have to bring up inflation. But if you're going to do that, the only fair way to have that assessment is to. I would rather, be honest with you, RJ, and everybody else, I would rather just not have that conversation. Because it really doesn't, at the end of the day, Man of Steel's better for me. It's the one I watched multiple times, even if I had them both in front of me. If I have a Superman movie to watch and I have my choice, it's going to be Man of Steel. Then it's Superman 2. You know. It's a fool's errand if you're comparing in general, but when you're taking two movies like that and trying to compare their revenue, you cannot, in my opinion, make that assessment without that being added to it. It is. And like I said, I am going to start getting away. Okay. Any Ironheart updates? I have not seen it.
I've still not seen that show.
What were you laughing at?
I pulled up something from Billy Madison while you're.
Thanks a lot for staying fucking focused, asshole.
Well, I was thinking about, we got the Happy Gilmore watch party. We're doing on Friday, right? Or Friday or Saturday, whatever. So we got that coming up, and it's like my mind just went to Adam Sandler.
Yeah, we're almost done. Yeah, I agree. This is right, RJ. And like I said, I would just rather not have that portion of the conversation. If you're going to have the conversation, which would better, it should be on the content of the movie, not necessarily the draw 13 years apart when we're not willing to consider all involved. I would just rather, how did Superman 25 make you feel? How did Man of Steel make you feel? And that's a conversation I would love to have, but we should be able to have that without getting completely. All right, last one of the day. Ironically, it's Anthony Madonna question. I think people took out of context what he was talking about. He was responding to somebody in his chat saying Gone with the Wind. Yeah, and like I said, when you're talking a general conversation, we just don't have it. But when this conversation got narrowed down to two different Superman for reasons that I don't think were for the betterment of comic book movie talk, to be honest with you. So all right, I think that's it for the night. Kevin O'Doc here, Mr. Rev, how you doing? I saw Campion saying the reason you adjust for inflation is because it's like saying the film you're adjusting would make that an adjusted amount, which isn't true. Campion is smart. That's what I mean. And when I watch and I rewatched that, and I'm like, am I just not getting what he's laying down? Because that makes sense in the broader sense. That doesn't make sense when you're doing a show like he is, and when people are doing these headlines and these clickbait stuff, you're making the comparison. On the broad scape, yeah, it's a silly argument. I think in the small scape it is. But if you were going to do that and hype up something, you have to be honest there. So, all right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for watching. I didn't need any super checks to make this a special show. You guys made it a special show. It lasted an hour longer than I planned it to last, but that's fine because the conversation was civil and it covered places. Once again, agreement is not a prerequisite for you having fun here with us. Agreement is not a prerequisite for you thinking you can watch this show. We are having a conversation, period. And I don't want anybody to ever feel that, the environment is not welcoming or that you can't type something as long as it's civil and non-trolling and things like that.
It doesn't involve my internal
Yeah, we're gonna have to
bodily
fix that.
functions or whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, all these opinions are welcome. They make the conversation fun. I will see you guys Wednesday night. I don't know what we're going to be talking about, but like I said, depends. I need to get back to the whole list of favorite stuff.
We got to do that more, man.
I think we'll do that tomorrow night. We'll just have to come up with one. I think we have one lined up, and then somebody either died or something big dropped, so we got to fix that one. So, all right, guys, have a nice Wednesday morning. I will see you later on tonight.
See you guys.
Fucking StreamYard. That is not the fucking. Never mind. See you guys later.